Number 10, Mike Tyson. So I had trouble landing on just one interview to mention when it comes to this man. He is someone who seems to just bounce back after every single heinous thing he's done. So we're going to run through a few of them. The first time Mike really hurt his career was in the 80s, and it wasn't even something he said. He was doing an interview with his then girlfriend Robin Gibbs. When the topic of Mike's behavior came up, she said herself that Mike had an extremely volatile temper. Recent reports had also surfaced of Mike getting loud and physical with Robin, something she seemingly confirmed, while Mike just stared at the interviewer the entire time, giving him an evil look. Now, that was one of the first little notches on his belt. That wasn't really a meltdown. As the years went by, more and more controversies came to light, and during a press tour for his latest bout in the early 2000s, he lashed out at a fan in the crowd, hurling a slew of insults and calling them the British word for cancer sticks. It starts with an F and it rhymes with maggot. The clip became viral overnight and placed his career in jeopardy, but he finally drove that nail into the coffin on CP24's Breakfast Television in 2014. After somehow maintaining enough relevance to get a one-man show, Mike was sitting down with host Nathan Downer to promote when the interview took a hard left and went from "so what's the show about" to "so should you even be allowed on stage, you monster?" That's not what he actually said, but apparently that's what Mike Tyson heard, because he stopped answering questions and would instead hurl sarcastic insults. The F word is once again his favorite and just throws it at him. I don't know if you've noticed, but Mike hasn't been on the news much since then, and probably for a good reason. Number 9, Paula Abdul. Q13 Fox News. In 2012, famous judge and British bad boy Simon Cowell decided to fire his fellow X Factor judge after she went on Fox News and made herself sound like a little bit of a fool. During an interview with Q13, things started out a little rocky thanks to some audio issues causing Paula to hear a station in Texas instead of their own. When they eventually got everything up and running, Paula was just as confusing as she was with the original issues. The interviewers were trying to ask her about her visit to Seattle, where Simon claims that the worst singers that he has ever encountered dwell. Instead of defending the city, Paula doubled down and agreed with Simon. It's not the statement though that landed her in the hot seat, it was actually just the way that she was speaking. Paula had always been a little bit animated in her life, using arms a lot when speaking to people, but she was particularly slurry and seemed like she was under the influence of something. This was just one of several interviews where Paula is noticeably woozy. Simon Cowell has actually claimed the only reason she was invited to host on the X Factor in the first place was to see if she would bring in the American Idol viewers, and when that didn't pan out, he realized the right move to make was to let her go because she's not great on television. Of course, Paula was mad about this and confronted Simon several times, only making that meltdown bigger and bigger. Number 8, Robert Downey Jr. Being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe means a ton of interviews. Now, Robert had the fortune of playing Iron Man for 10 years, being featured in 11 movies. While doing press for his second round with the Avengers in 2015, he had the misfortune of speaking with a legendarily terrible interviewer, Krishnan Guru Murphy, on Channel 4. Now, I've talked about this guy in other videos for making Quentin Tarantino walk out of an interview, and he is making a return for something pretty similar. The interview is uncomfortable from the very beginning. Krishnan stumbles through his questions as quickly as he can, with Robert doing his best just to keep things smooth. Instead of asking questions about the movie though, Krishnan decided to probe Robert about his life in prison and with substance control issues. Now, at first, he's okay and answers the questions, but then Krishnan brings up his dad and asks if he feels that he escaped his dark past. Robert is visibly anxious and begins breathing pretty heavy to keep himself calm. He asks what they were doing there, and then the team said goodbye. He stood up and walked out of the room, and he said that Krishnan seemed nice, but things were getting just a little bit too Diane Sawyer for his taste. This was one of the most uncomfortable interview moments in Robert's career, and it's not even close to the worst one for Krishnan. Number 7, Sofia Vergara. Fans of the show Modern Family will recognize Sofia as Gloria, aka Manny's mom, who is just absolutely hilarious and heartwarming at the same time, even outside of Modern Family. Now, while speaking with Ellen in 2017 about her career and some new projects coming up, Ellen decided to play a game called English Word of the Day. Claiming to be learning Spanish with one word a day, she wished to teach Sofia one as well. Before the segment, Sofia is roasting Ellen for her dislike of cotton, but when Ellen asks if she wants to learn the English word with her, Sofia scoffs and is visibly annoyed, claiming that she speaks English very well. Ellen gives her the word flabbergasted and asks her to define what it means. Not only does she pronounce it correctly the first time, but she knew exactly what it meant Ellen follows it up with discombobulated, which left Sophia confused and thinking pretty hard. Now, she butchered the word, and while she seemed to be taking things in stride, it turns out Sophia was so frustrated with participating in this game, as she is a bit self-conscious when it comes to her accent. A lot of people consider the segment to be a little bit racist and more cringe-inducing than fun. I've seen the clip. That's accurate. Number 6, Joaquin Phoenix. We understand a dedication to your craft, and Joaquin Phoenix is just a prime example. This dude's acting career has been going steady since he first appeared in the 1989 comedy Parenthood when he was in his teens. Now, while he is seen as one of the greatest actors in recent history, his reputation on set was a little tarnished thanks to a freak out while filming the 2018 solo flick Joker. He appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote the shoot when Jimmy plays a behind-the-scenes clip of Joaquin getting loud and angry at a man named Larry, and the constant whispering behind the cameras before dropping a few F-bombs and storming off this set. When the cameras came back to the studio, Joaquin was frozen in shock and clearly not expecting that clip to ever see the light of day. He is not having a good time. He explained that Larry was a cinematographer who teased Joaquin off set earlier in the day, calling him a diva and referring to him as Cher. In fact, if you're watching the clip and during the outbursts, you can actually hear him say, "You want to call me Cher? How is that an insult?" He then explained that there is a lot of pressure on set, especially in a closed space, like the apartment from the scene that they were filming. He apologized to the audience for having to see him behave like that, which, was met with applause. Because at the end of the day, he's a performer and no harm came from the outburst or the meltdown, and honestly, if Larry's cool with it, so are we. Number 5, Nicolas Cage. The most unhinged man in Hollywood history. One of the few people who somehow managed to star in billions of movies, but has barely seen or kept a cent of that money. During a press junket in 1990, Nick went on a talk show called Wogan to discuss his latest project, Wild at Heart. When the host Terry Wogan announced Nick Cage, he entered with karate kicks, a front flip, somersault. He threw wads of cash at the audience because, hey, he's Nick Cage, why not? And when he finally sat down, moments before the interview actually began, he asked if he could take his jacket off. He proceeds to take his jacket off and the shirt underneath of it, because if people thought Nick Cage was all together, they were proven wrong during this interview. Despite the content being relatively tamed, the entire time you can just see sweat glistening off of Nick's chest, because guess what? Wearing a leather jacket on your bare chest is beyond uncomfortable, especially when there are lights aimed at you. Now sure, it might look cool until you take it off and you just have a heat rash. Nick's always been unhinged, but this meltdown during this interview was truly unique. His behavior in the 90s was apparent and well documented thanks to him literally being in like 2 movies a year. Number 4, Christian Bale. Christian is a very versatile actor, physically and of course skill-wise. He's able to shrink and grow his physique seemingly at will. He's played everything from a skinny substance addict to Batman in 2008. Christian starred in the 3rd film of the Terminator franchise, Terminator Salvation, and while he was filming a scene, director of photography Shane Holbert apparently just moved into Christian's eyesight, and this caused Christian to snap out of character and into defense mode. The now infamous audio clip of Christian screaming at Shane to make matters worse, anyone trying to calm Christian down were met with an equally swift verbal lashing. While the cinematographer was just checking a light to make sure that it was in the right place, like doing his job, Bale made it his mission to share his intense feelings with the entire crew. When the audio leaked, Bale apologized for his actions and told the world to praise the crew for their work. Now while the movie turned out okay visually speaking, the project as a whole is remembered as a terrible Terminator movie, and he gets pretty uncomfortable when he talks about it on stage. Number 3, Paris Hilton. Paris is the originator of the phrase famous for being famous, because this woman made headlines many times over the years for a little bit of everything. In 2011, Paris appeared on ABC to discuss her career, her personal life, and the recent situations she had been dealing with involving stalkers. During the interview, she revealed a few things about her life that had previously been speculated, like the fact that she used a higher-pitched baby voice on the show Simple Life, but had a much deeper and serious tone in real life. But the conversation eventually ventures into uncharted waters. The interviewer asked Paris if she felt that her former friend and protege, Kim Kardashian, had overshadowed her in the eyes of the media. Paris says nothing, looks to her publicist, and goes to stand up. They almost wrapped the interview entirely, but eventually things simmered down and they were able to clear up the air. However, the moment stuck with fans of Hilton immediately and begged the question, why is she so uncomfortable talking about this? And it's because it's true. Well, it turns out the world answered the question for her, because Kim Kardashian's show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, made it big, and Paris Hilton's show was cancelled after 1 season. So there you go. Number 2, Tom Cruise. Matt Lauer is not just a terrible person who turned out to be a creepy creepo. He was once a popular talk show host in the early 2000s. During an interview with Tom Cruise in 2005, the topic of his scientific beliefs came up that quickly sent Tom into a rant about psychiatry, and somehow the topic got into Ritalin and pseudosciences. I don't know, Tom yelled at Matt about knowing more than him about psychiatry, like he had some inside information that he was secretly a therapist, who knows. The interview came at the height of Tom's pretty public descent into chaotic badness, becoming very famous for his outlandish beliefs and his wish to push them onto other people. The highlight of the interview came when Cruise was asked about his previous criticisms of Brooke Shields taking anti-sad time pills, to which he responded by calling her a glib. I looked up the definition of that word and it means fluent and voluble, but insincere and shallow. What? This was only one of the several interviews from 2005 that I wanted to discuss today, especially with Tom Cruise. Good lord, that was a rough year for him. When he was with Katie Holmes, he was a nutcase, just ask Oprah. I mean, ever since the mid-2000s, his career has mainly been Mission Impossible, with only a few small roles to fill the gaps here and there, not the Hollywood superstar that he was aiming to be. And at number 1, my favorite entry, Bobcat Goldthwait. Allow me to start the entry by doing an impression of Bobcat. Thank you. Bobcat may not be much of an actor these days, but in the 80s and 90s, this man was dominating the film and comedy scene. His zany brand of over-the-top, high-energy performance was so well received by any and all who saw him. I can still hear his voice echoing in my head whenever I think of Police Academy. In 1994, comedian Arsenio Hall invited his longtime buddy Bobcat onto his talk show, which unfortunately was in its final days on the air. When he heard of the cancellation, Bobcat decided to send a message to the big brains that made the decision, because he spray painted the word Paramount on the wall behind him, throws furniture around, breaks TV screens, all the while Arsenio is just sitting back and laughing. When they returned from commercial, the set was in ruins, and despite that, Arsenio joked that he was like, the worst part is I have to pretend like I'm mad at him. Joke's on him, that wasn't the only talk show meltdown he partook in. A few years after this, Bobcat set a chair on fire on the Jay Leno show for no reason, just for fun. Like he was standing there just going, fire! He was fined over $3,000 and made to replace the chair. Oh, and in case you haven't noticed, he hasn't been asked to be on any talk shows recently. Number 10, Hugh Grant. In 2023, the world was gifted with an awkward interview between model Ashley Graham and Dungeons & Dragons star Hugh Grant. Ashley was trying her best to give a good interview and ask Hugh the hard-hitting questions. Like, who was he wearing? Was he excited to be there? Did he hope anyone won? You know, the generic questions they tell you to ask on day one. Hugh was not budging, to the point where she just kinda gave up and let him loose. One of her last questions to Hugh was regarding his cameo in the Netflix film Glass Onion, which he says was barely a full day on set. The incident sparked a ton of backlash, mainly aimed at Hugh for making Ashley's job more and more difficult, because he wasn't even responding to that first round of questioning. But then the narrative switched to, why wasn't she asking him better questions? ABC decided that the hosting gig was going to go to someone else next year, and it's looking like she won't be making any more interview appearances anytime soon. Number 9, Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler's comments about the upcoming live-action Snow White movie could have a huge impact on ticket sales, according to branding experts. The 22-year-old actress has received plenty of backlash after she admitted that she hated the original 1937 movie and branded the storyline as weird, while referring to the Prince character as a stalker. Not wrong. The backlash occurred after several videos of Rachel speaking negatively about the original film in various interviews last year that resurfaced online, where she talked about her version of this character, saying that she's not going to be saved by a prince and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. While Disney may just be trying to modernize the classic, these comments were causing her to be labeled as a fake feminist. Some critics accused Rachel of gaslighting, and one marketing consultant has warned that Disney will need to be careful with how they've portrayed Snow White. Snow White has already been suffering from backlash well before Rachel made her comments. Peter Dinklage spoke out about Disney not using true dwarf actors for the new film and instead opting to use heavy CGI on Hollywood elites. Rachel's role as Snow White is in the air as of filming, because while this film is set to release in March, the writers and actors strike set production back, so who knows, maybe they recasted her in the background while we weren't paying attention. Number 8, Adam Driver. Adam Driver is an incredible actor, and I personally got to see him perform for him for the first time in a little rom-com alongside Daniel Radcliffe called The F Word. If you've never seen that, check it out, it's a great movie. And then I saw Star Wars, okay, don't worry, I know that he's Kylo Ren. This year, Adam had the chance to play one of the creator of one of the fastest and most recognizable car brands in the entire world, Enzo Ferrari of Ferrari cars. The film has been receiving some pretty solid reviews, following in the shadows of films like Ford v Ferrari from a couple of years back. It seems like we might get a cinematic universe of stories behind popular car brands. There's a DeLorean movie, there's this movie, they should just make a movie about Subarus next. My parents love Subarus, they're great cars. While doing press for the film, Adam was involved in a Q&A that resulted in one of the best Adam Driver clips to ever exist. A man in the audience asks Adam how he feels about stunt racing scenes, as they are pretty intense, harsh, and honestly, in their opinion, cheesy. Cheesy? Adam doesn't like that word. He sips his water, and with very little hesitation, he says, I don't know, F you. Next question. The clip became viral very fast, and people are actually praising Adam for his response. People at these events are given a rare chance to speak with actors, directors, and everything in between, so when someone takes that precious time just to tell you how they feel about something and to see if you agree, it's just a waste of time. Number 7, Pedro Pascal. Pedro is another treasure in this world. Not only has his energy and genuine personality been showcased in his TV and film roles, but he's become one of the most recognizable faces in meme culture. He's also been involved in projects from every genre: comedy, action, horror, and now live-action video game adaptations thanks to the Last of Us series. Earlier this year, he was attending the premiere of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, and an interviewer stopped him on the red carpet and asked if he might like to read some thirst tweets to the camera. This was unprompted and never confirmed to be okay with Pedro beforehand, before he was put on camera. Pedro took the piece of paper that he was handed. It contained the tweets. He giggled, took a moment to read it over, and with a big smile on his face just gave them a sincere no, and then called the comments too dirty to read. But being the man that he is, he told them that they were doing a great job and that those were some thirsty tweets. He was not insulted by this interaction at all, and if anything, it's just another clip that showcases how much of a gem this man really is. Number 6, Dax Shepard. In September of this year, an individual named Jonathan Van Ness, or JVN, made an appearance on Dax's podcast, Armchair Experts. JVN rose to fame after appearing on the series Queer Eye and has continued to work in several sections of the beauty and fashion industry for years. While speaking with Dax, known best as a comedic actor from movies like Employee of the Month and Idiocracy, he actually ended up bringing JVN to tears thanks to his comments towards the concept of transitioning and gender-affirming care. During the conversation, Dax wished to debate both sides, to which JVN responded with several well-researched points. Dax's views have always been questioned, as they seem to be based in misinformation and are actually anti-trans in general. Towards the end of the conversation, and after JVN basically had to defend their beliefs over and over again, Dax apologized and acknowledged that he should not have put JVN in that position. Jay expresses their exhaustion of having to justify these comments and fight for the rights of younger people who are transitioning. JVN is just very passionate about youth especially being accepted and involved in as many activities and interests as possible in their lives. Dax has been called out for his comments when the entire point of the podcast was to discuss JVN's own podcast, so you might say he went a little off topic. Number 5, Tony Danza. Modern audiences may not know much about Tony Danza, but if you're a fan of the 80s and 90s, this man will have come across your screen once or twice. Starring in shows like Taxi and Who's the Boss, Tony dominated the sitcom scene for a solid portion of his career. Earlier this year, at the Broadway premiere of New York, an interviewer named Rye Myers asked Tony a question about New York that left Danza branded as one of the rudest celebrities in the world. He was simply asking Tony what his favorite NYC staple food was. Pizza, hot dogs, what makes Tony tick? Instead of answering the rather simple question and just moving on, he took a moment to pause and tell Rye that he should get better questions, and even told him to relax. The clip went viral and people quickly began supporting Myers. Even the great Michael Bublé chimed in to let him know that he loved him and was ready to share a pizza with him at any time if Tony wasn't invited. Tony actually reached out later on and apologized for his response, deciding that he ultimately wanted to squash the beef. Things were patched up, but that is still an extremely rude and awkward moment. Number 4, Doja Cat. The Met Gala always seems to bring in some truly memorable moments, whether it's an outlandish outfit or an interview where they just meow the entire time. It's a weird place to be. Yes, Doja Cat went to the Met Gala in 2023 dressed as a cat. She literally had prosthetic nose on her face and prosthetics on her eyebrows, all the while wearing a sparkly silver dress with little sparkly ears on top. Emma Chamberlain decided that Doja was the woman that she needed to interview. No one else. Doja Cat was the one, which ended up being a very bad decision. Great, well, bad for her, great for us. Doja responded to every single question that this woman asked with a resounding meow. At one point, she actually attempts to tell a story in meows a few times with different tones, like meow, meow, meow. The entire time, the guy who is standing with her is just kind of like, yeah, that's Doja Cat. She's been doing this for a month now. The moment was honestly more entertaining than rude, but I'm not sure if this was planned beforehand or not. If it was, great meme, good job. If it's not, this is horrible, and Doja, you need to chill. Number 3, Liam Neeson. Liam may be known for his serious roles and for being, one of the worst parents in cinematic history, but this year he was known as an uncomfortable man thanks to his appearance on the show The View. Appearing to discuss his career and potential projects coming down the line, the conversation shifted after one of the hosts, Anna Navarro, jabbed Joy Behar about her crush on Liam Neeson, saying that there was at least one woman on this panel that would love to be taken by Liam. Ew. The show then played a supercut of all the times that Joy has spoken about Liam, including a time when she said that she would want to have her ashes sprinkled over him, and another bit where she admitted to getting a little aroused when she saw him on screen. Liam joked at first, asking Joy if she received the checks, insinuating that she gets paid every time she talks about him. Following the interview, Liam felt the whole thing to be a little bit of a waste of time. The segment about the crush was long and is a crush that materialized like 15 years ago. Eventually, he had a normal conversation, but overall it was just a little uncomfortable. Number 2, Chloe Fineman. For anyone who does not know Chloe Fineman, I'm sorry. She is currently working as a cast member on Saturday Night Live, and she's genuinely doing a great job and is hilarious. Fortunately, earlier this year, she was involved in a red carpet interview that proved how little she actually knew about some of the celebrities involved with the event she was at. Fineman hosted the Vogue live stream of the 2023 Met Gala alongside Derek Blasberg. The pair were eventually joined by Aubrey Plaza, Madeline Klein, the designer of many dresses from the evening, and Stella McCartney. As the interview began, Fineman attempts to introduce the women that she's interviewing but fumbles all of their names, one of them on purpose. Instead of calling them by their first names, she refers to Madeline and Stella as McCartney and Klein. She then calls Aubrey Plaza Audrey, and Plaza improvised her own last name, Slutburn, which may have to be bleeped out, but I really hope it's not. Chloe and Aubrey actually know each other very well and have worked together a few times. Chloe and Aubrey actually know each other really well, and they've worked together a few times in the past, so this was clearly just an inside joke. McCartney was having none of these shenanigans though. Chloe instinctively laughed when someone makes a joke, so when the women kept responding to the questions, "What are you wearing?" with each other's last names, she had to giggle. McCartney asked her if she was taking this seriously, and the tension dissipated only when she asked McCartney about taking over for Karl Lagerfeld, the designer that the night had been themed after. Yeah, I don't know how to say his last name, please don't comment about it. The moment was tense, and we're sure Chloe was happy to get back to world of sketch comedy as soon as possible. And at number 1, Jada Pinkett Smith. Every single interview that this woman has ever done has had some kind of shade or hidden meaning behind it, whether it's trying to patch things up with someone on her own little Facebook talk show that hurt her, or just telling the world every single dirty detail about Will Smith that she knows. This woman is a menace who makes for uncomfortable interviews and moments every time she is on screen. This year alone, she outed her marriage as a sham, claimed Tupac Shakur was in love with her, and wrote a book about everything in between. Don't buy it.
At number 10, we have Thinking Kate Hudson Won an Oscar. In the world of Hollywood, winning an Oscar is one of the biggest career-changing moments. So when ABC reporter George Penicino said, "Kate, you know what it's like to win an Oscar?" to which she was uncomfortable and replied, I've never won an Oscar. For some background information, Kate Hudson starred in movies like Glass Onion, Mother's Day with Jennifer Aniston, as well as How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So I can understand why why he thought she would have won. But when you're an interviewer, it's important to have a base of knowledge on the people who are going to be there, so as to not embarrass yourself. And this was no exception. Thankfully for George, he wasn't fired because of his little live television slip-up, but it's safe to say that he has learned his lesson about making assumptions.
Number 9. Zac Efron's love tubes. Zac rose to fame as a Disney darling, playing the leading role of Troy Bolton in the popular High School Musical series. Since his Disney days, Zac has lent his face and voice to several projects over the years, but the red carpet event that we're talking about today was for the animated Dr. Seuss movie, The Lorax. Zac, who voiced the main character of the film, was walking the red carpet when he suddenly handed his assistant something in his pocket. As he handed them the product, something fell out of his pocket and onto the ground. That something is a word that I can't say online, so let's just call them love tubes. Zac's love tube wrapper was flat on the carpet right there for the world to see. He quickly picked it up, but the damage was already done. In the first interview following this incident, the interviewer asked Zac if anything unplanned had happened to him recently, and he then explained that it was a complete accident, that there was no pre-show pocket check, anything that could have prevented it. Well, Illumination didn't like that excuse, and they also didn't like their main star being associated with such an adult product. So, when the plans for a Lorax sequel were brought to the studios, Zac's name was left out and replaced by another star. I guess whoever they picked wasn't famous enough because the project was ultimately shelved by the studio, and Zac was able to find work somewhere else. In Baywatch.
At number 8, we have Jim Carrey's existential rant. Jim Carrey is a character who has had many varying roles. From the Grinch in the iconic live-action version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, he was in The Cable Guy with Matthew Broderick, and he most recently played Dr. Eggman in the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movies. His IMDb spans on, but something important to know about him is that he had really bad depression, and really let himself go over the years. One of those moments, we really saw how the mind of a genius works was when he was on a rant during an interview at the 2017 Harper's Bazaar Icons party. No one really knew why he showed up in the first place if he was so unhappy to be there, but former E! reporter Kat Sadler came up to him to ask him questions. He leaned into the mic and he said, "There is no meaning to any of this." When she asked why he was attending the party, he said that he wanted to find the most meaningless thing he could come to and join, and there he was. Sadler tried to pry about other things and what the term icon meant to him, but he continued to spew existential nonsense that made everyone uncomfortable aside from him. It may not have been gross, but his career did begin to decline, both before and after this.
If there is one thing that should be known about Taylor Swift, is that she can end entire careers with one conversation. In 2015, Taylor was on the red carpet for the Grammy Awards when she was interviewed by Entertainment Tonight. The woman who interviewed her started the interview by asking her cameraman to pan up and down, literally checking Taylor out with this massive camera. It's not weird at all. After going along with the bit for a moment and telling the camera about her dress, the interviewer said that she honestly just wanted a shot of Taylor's legs because, as she said before, Taylor is going to be going home with more than a trophy. Maybe a man. Well, Taylor didn't appreciate that comment or the assumption. She did not laugh and then proceeded to tell the interviewer that she would be going home with no men, just hanging out with friends, maybe some of her cats. While the majority of the interview went well, the interviewers were reprimanded behind the scenes by Taylor herself. The news of Taylor's dislike for the interviewers made its way up to the top, where the ET executives decided to keep them off of the red carpet for a while. Remember, keep your creepy camera gestures to yourself, lady.
At number 6, we have David Letterman with Jennifer Aniston. David Letterman used to be the host of The Tonight Show before Jimmy Fallon took over. He's also a comedian who was successful for many years, and some comedians can take a sketch too far, or commit to a bit that makes people uncomfortable. And that's exactly what happened to a young Jennifer Aniston while on the show with him. They were making conversation, as one does, but then he got up and tried to eat her hair. I understand that you can really like someone as an actor, but when you are actively trying to eat their hair on live television, that is just too far. However, like the true professional she is, she let him. And there are photos out there of David Letterman leaning over Miss Aniston with her hair in his mouth.
Number 5, John Mayer. John may be known for spending time with the ladies, but it's not all peaches and cream. The musician was doing an interview with Playboy magazine in 2010. Now I know it involves Playboy, who are notoriously provocative, but Even they thought this interview was just a bit much. John gets into some pretty graphic depictions of things that he wanted to do to Jessica Simpson, using language that cannot be repeated online. But he then ventures off the physical intimacy thing and instead begins to speak about his, and I quote, hood pass, claiming that he had become so popular among black people that he could get away with anything he wanted, and he then called it the N-word pass. Yeah, not a great moment for this guy. Following the interview, fans were beyond upset at his behavior and his attitude towards women and honestly just people in general. Many turned on John, making a massive dent in his career, rightfully so, and nowadays this is one of the only things that he is remembered for. Well, that and his really bad cameo in Get Hard.
At number 4, we have Jay Leno questioning Kanye West. Jay Leno was the host of yet another late night show, and back in 2009, he had Kanye West on his show. You see, the event that caused this was Kanye West interrupting young Taylor Swift's mid-acceptance speech for the best music video, I might add, to say that Beyonce had the best music video and should have won, in front of an audience on TV. For some context, Kanye's mother had passed away in 2007, just a couple years prior to the incident. Jay Leno knew this, and he said that he was fortunate enough to have met his mother. So, Leno, in a very disrespectful fashion, asked Kanye if his mother would have been disappointed in him for doing that, and asked if she would have lectured him. You can see how shocked he is and how hurt he is hearing those words. He almost had no response. Whether or not you're a fan of him, that was still so unprofessional and cruel.
Number 3, Amy Schumer. In the mid-2010s, comedian Amy Schumer was named one of Time magazine's top 100 most influential people and was made to attend a red carpet event to celebrate with her fellow influencers. Two of them were Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. While discussing the incident on the Graham Norton show, Amy revealed that there was a planned prank on Kim and Ye. Her goal was to get them to crack a smile and get some good fun pics from this event, but Kim and Kanye did not find this situation funny and continued to walk past her as she fell in front of them in a dramatic fashion. The best picture is just Kim staring at Amy for a moment being like, okay, and then just moving on. While the moment was meant to create a fun scene, it instead made Amy look like she had some kind of grudge against Kim and Kanye. While not an interview, the incident on the red carpet forced Comedy Central to postpone a season of her show until things were sorted out with Kim. Well, it turned out that not only did Kim not care about this, but she did end up finding the entire thing funny. With the two apparently now being close friends, Amy even made a cameo on Kim's new reality series, The Kardashians.
At number 2, we have the Marvel interview. I use such a vague title because there is a lot to unpack about this interview with Robert Downey Jr. He had a very rocky upbringing, and he was involved in a lot of illegal activities, had substance issues, and has an internet famous mugshot. But he's been clean for years, all thanks to his wife. So when the man doing the interview for a Marvel movie pressed about his past, it made him very uncomfortable. And it wasn't just asking some surface level questions, he asked about his relationship with his father and mentioned how he has opened up about his issues with liquids and substances and his upbringing. He then went on to ask RDJ if he really thought he was free from all that, or something you think about. This was when RDJ cut him off, left the room, and walked away from the interview. Imagine the audacity the interviewer must have had to even think about asking Robert such a thing, and even though he had been clean for so long and had finally gained the confidence to speak up about it.
And at number 1, Will Smith. That's right, Will Smith is on this list for slapping someone, but it's not Chris Rock. Today we're talking about an incident on the red carpet that left one paparazzo with a massive red mark on their face and a fired stamp on their forehead. Will was walking the red carpet in 2013 giving people interviews when a Ukrainian comedian named Vitaly Sejik approached him, a man who is unfortunately world famous for being an absolutely terrible person, especially towards celebrities. He pretended to be a reporter and started interviewing Will Smith, but then he suddenly pulls Will towards him and tries to kiss him on his cheeks and his mouth. Well, Will obviously shoves him back and gave him a little, "Hey bud, no thank ya," just a little backhand to the face. A team of security following Mr. Smith picked this guy up and carried him away like the toddler he was. Who knew Will was practicing for his Oscar slap all the way back then? Sejik was finally reprimanded for his actions and was actually made to pay a hefty fine for attempting to force himself on Will Smith. Needless to say, that guy works for himself now. Number 10, Cara Delevingne. Cara is a gifted actor and overall seems like a pretty solid human being, so much like the rest of us, she gets tired and annoyed from time to time. Unfortunately, that feeling took place on live television while she was promoting her movie Paper Towns. While making an appearance on the early morning show Good Day Sacramento, the interview did not get off to a great start. The program's anchor called her Carla, and she then spent the next few minutes trying to get info out of Cara but was failing miserably. Falling deep into the anchor role, she pulled out the old, hey, wow, you know, that's amazing. Listen, Carla, did you read the book that this thing's based on, or did you even have time because you're so busy? She was having none of that. She was very sarcastic with each and every answer to the fairly generic questions. Do you relate to the character? What was your favorite moment? It was then that a third anchor abruptly popped in and asked Cara if she was exhausted, as she seemed a bit more excited to speak about the movie a few weeks prior in London. She giggled and said that she was fine. Apparently the premiere of the film was the night before, which she claimed to feel like the end of an era. But the anchors do not know when to quit. One of the anchors then suggested that she may be irritated, or maybe it was just them. They then cut the interview short and told her to take a nap and get a Red Bull. She can be heard saying, well, that's too far, before the anchor screeches over her and shuts her down. According to Cara, there really was no bad blood. She was just sick of answering the same questions over and over again. Following the interview, the man who popped in and gave his 2 cents was actually fired for causing such a tense situation on live television. Number 9. Robert Downey Jr. Being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe means being in a ton of interviews. Robert had the fortune of playing Iron Man for over 10 years, being featured in 11 movies during that time. While doing press for his second round with the Avengers in 2015, he had the misfortune of speaking with a legendarily terrible interviewer named Krishnan Guru Murphy on Channel 4. Now, I've talked about this guy in another video for making Quentin Tarantino walk out of an interview, and he's making a return for something pretty similar. The interview is uncomfortable from the very beginning. Krishnan stumbles through his questions as quickly as he can, with Robert doing his best to keep things going along. But instead of asking questions about the movie, Krishnan decided to probe Robert on his life in prison and with substance control issues. Now, at first he's okay and he answers the question, but then Krishnan brings up his father and asks if he feels that he has escaped from his dark past. Robert is visibly anxious and he begins breathing heavily to keep himself calm. He asks what they're doing and the team says goodbye. He said Krishnan seemed nice, but things were getting a little bit too Diane Sawyer. This was one of the most uncomfortable interview moments in Robert's career, not even close to the worst for Krishnan. Number 8, Sofia Vergara. Fans of the show Modern Family will surely recognize Sofia as Gloria, aka Manny's mom, who is absolutely hilarious and heartwarming at the same time. Now, while speaking with Ellen in 2017 about her career and some new projects, Ellen decided to play a game called English Word of the Day. Claiming to be learning Spanish with one word a day, she wished to teach Sofia one as well. Before the segment, Sofia is roasting Ellen for her dislike of cotton, but when Ellen asks if she wants to learn the English word with her, Sofia scoffs and is visibly annoyed, claiming that she speaks English very well. Ellen gives her the word flabbergasted and asks her to define what it means. Not only does she pronounce it correctly the first time, but she knows exactly what it means. Ellen follows up with discombobulated, which left Sofia confused and thinking very hard, which she butchered the word. While she seemed to be taking things in stride, it turns out that Sofia was absolutely frustrated with participating in the game, as she's a bit self-conscious when it comes to her accent. Many considered the segment to be a little racist and more cringe-inducing than fun. I've seen the clip. That's accurate. Number 7, Zac Efron. Zac is one of the Disney kids that eventually made a name for himself as a legitimate performer, starring in comedy movies like Neighbors and 17 Again, as well as some more dramatic roles like in Charlie St. Cloud. In 2017, Zac starred alongside Hollywood heavyweight Dwayne Johnson in a revival of the Baywatch series. While promoting the film, Zac stopped by the Ellen DeGeneres show. Oh, look, it's Ellen again! Ellen thought it would be fun to bring out a wax figure of Zac Efron that was on its way to be displayed in a real Hollywood wax museum. The figure is based on his Baywatch role, meaning that he's shirtless and his abs are present. Zac picks up his own shirt to show the audience the strange similarities, at which time Ellen just rubs his tummy for a moment. Zac then spends a few moments flexing and comparing himself to the statue before complaining that, oh man, it's bigger than he is. Seeing Troy from High School Musical flexing next to a statue of himself? Cringy. Number 6, Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler's comments about the upcoming live-action Snow White remake could have a massive impact on ticket sales and the overall project, according to branding experts. The 22-year-old actress has received plenty of backlash after she admitted that she actually hated the original 1937 movie and branded the storyline as weird, while referring to the Prince character as just a straight-up stalker. The backlash occurred after several videos of Rachel speaking negatively about the original movie in various interviews last year resurfaced online, where she talked about her version of the character. She said she's not going to be saved by the prince, she's not going to be dreaming about true love. While Disney may just be trying to modernize the classic, the comments have caused her to be labeled as a fake feminist by a lot of people in Hollywood. Some critics accused Rachel of gaslighting, and even one marketing consultant has warned Disney might need to be careful about how they have portrayed Snow White. Because Snow White has already been suffering from backlash well before Rachel made her comments, because Peter Dinklage actually spoke out about Disney not using true dwarf actors for the new film, instead opting to use heavy CGI on Hollywood elites, because that always looks great. Rachel's role as Snow White is currently in the air while she is still casted in the role. Who knows, maybe this whole Hollywood strike thing might be the exact situation the studio needs to kick her out and get someone who's more in line with their themes. Number 5. Robin Williams. We lost one of the greatest performers in our lifetime in 2014, but even 9 years later his co-stars are still gushing about how impactful this man was in their lives. Robin and Nathan Lane starred together in a film called Birdcage. Now, I've personally never seen it, but considering the cast and ratings for this movie, it's on my list now. Nathan and Robin did interviews together for the film and took some time to sit down with one of the greatest TV hosts of all time, Miss Oprah Winfrey. The interview was on the right track, but then Oprah asks Nathan how he is able to get into the character so well. Nathan, of course, playing a drag queen in the film. At the time, Mr. Lane was not an openly gay man, and he felt like there was no way to tiptoe around this topic without eventually being outed on Oprah's show. After an awkward moment, superhero Robin swoops in, just diverts the conversation to a new topic, and they move on. In interviews from the past couple of years, Nathan has mentioned the Oprah incident and knows there's no ill intention on her part and considers Robin to have saved him from what could have been a very, very awkward moment. Number 4. Dakota Johnson. When Dakota Johnson was a guest on the Ellen DeGeneres show in 2019, she took a more subtle and pulled back approach to addressing an issue with the host. Ellen asked Johnson when her birthday was, and then claimed that she had never received an invite for the party. Then the 50 Shades actor quickly smiled and revealed that she actually had in fact extended the invite to Ellen, but received no reply. Ellen was baffled, asking Dakota if she was sure, and that there was no possible way, to which she replied, "Ask literally anyone here, specifically your producer Jonathan." Following the comment, Ellen is seen searching the room for Jonathan with this mean expression on her face, which is understandable, she just got outed as a liar on her own show. Unfortunately for Ellen, that wouldn't be the last time, as only a few months later, a bunch of news stories and rumors started to circulate about her mistreating her staff, eventually leading to the show's cancellation. Looks like Dakota delivered her 50 Shades of oops. Number 3. Brie Larson. Brie was announced as the newest member of the Marvel Universe in 2019, starring in the film Captain Marvel as the titular superhero. At first, people were pretty excited to see what Marvel would do with the property. Captain Marvel is one of their original superheroes. However, when the movie was actually released, fans were very upset with her performance. According to them, she was stale and seemed bored from start to finish. When asked about the online hate at D23's red carpet last year, Brie said she's not sure if she'd even continue to play the character beyond her upcoming Captain Marvel sequel, The Marvels. She's aware of all the hate surrounding her character and defends the role by telling people that that's how she was told to play it, but it's also Brie Larson, she's always been stiff, but it's kinda why she's funny. The moment was extremely uncomfortable, with many fans calling for her to be fired from the role if she hated it so much. It's not that she hates the role, it's that she hates the people who hate her. Number 2. Paris Hilton. Paris is the originator of the phrase famous for being famous. This woman made headlines many times over the years for a little bit of everything. In 2011, Paris appeared on ABC to discuss her career, personal life, and the recent situations that she had been dealing with involving stalkers. During the interview, she revealed a few things about her life that had previously just been speculated, like the fact that she used a higher-pitched baby voice on her show Simple Life, but had a much deeper and more serious tone in real life. But the conversation eventually ventures into uncharted waters. The interviewer asks Paris if she felt that her former friend and protege Kim Kardashian had overshadowed her in the eyes of the media. Paris says nothing, looks to her publicist, and then goes to stand up. They almost wrap the entire interview, but eventually things simmered down and they were able to clear things up. However, the moment stuck with fans of Hilton immediately and begged the question, why is she so uncomfortable to talk about this? Is it because it's true? Well, it turns out the world answered that question for her, as Kim's show Keeping Up with the Kardashians made it big, and Paris Hilton's show, well, it was cancelled after one season, so yikes. Number 1, David Letterman. After many years of being extremely odd towards his female guests, I could not pick one single interview. So the number 1 spot just goes to David Letterman in general. There are several examples over the years of David being a little bit too intimate with his guests, including a time when he would not stop telling Jennifer Aniston how good her legs looked in her dress. He literally told Madonna to go kiss a man in the audience for fun. He called Keira Knightley a lovely offering. He told Dolly Parton he wanted to see her sweaty. The list goes on. It took way too long for someone to realize that this dude was just a bit too open at times, sharing just all the information that's just too much, way too much. One thing he continued to do right up until he retired in 2014 was show revealing or intimate photos of his guests without their knowledge, like when Emma Watson was forced to explain a wardrobe malfunction after David pulled out a photo from a recent red carpet event. He brushed people's hair, he made dirty jokes, like seriously, this dude was obsessed with legs. In fact, one of the last interviews that ever took place on his show was the previously mentioned Jennifer Aniston incident, where he just sat there commenting on her looks for like the entire thing. While his career was never actually destroyed, I thought it would be a nice mention because, hey, this is a list of people who have done some pretty weird stuff on interviews, so David's not an exception. Number 10, Zac Efron. Zac rose to fame as a Disney darling, playing the leading role of Troy Bolton in the popular High School Musical series. Since his Disney days, Zac has lent his face and voice to several projects, but the red carpet event that we're talking about today was for the animated Dr. Seuss movie The Lorax, which Zac, who voiced the main character of the film, was walking the red carpet when he suddenly handed his assistant something from his pocket. As he handed them the product, something fell out of his pocket and onto the carpet. Now that something is a word that I can't say online. Let's just call them love tubes. Love tubes. I like that. Zac's love tube wrapper was flat on the carpet right there for the world to see. He quickly picked it up, but the damage had already been done. In the first interview following this incident, the interviewer asked Zac if there was anything unplanned that had happened. He then explained that this was a complete accident. There was no pre-show pocket check or anything that could have prevented it. Well, Illumination did not like that excuse, and they also didn't like their main star being associated with such an adult product. So, when the plans for a Lorax sequel were brought to the studios, Zac's name was left out and replaced by somebody else. I guess whoever they picked wasn't famous enough though, as the project was ultimately shelved by the studio, and thankfully Zac found work somewhere else. In Baywatch. Number 9, Taylor Swift. If there is one thing that should be known about Taylor Swift, it's that she can end an entire career with one single conversation. In 2015, Taylor was on the red carpet for the Grammy Awards when she was interviewed by a woman from Entertainment Tonight. The interviewer started the interview by asking her cameraman to pan up and down and literally checking her out as this massive camera just followed her. You know, that's not weird at all. After going along with the bit for a bit and telling the camera about her dress, the woman who was interviewing her said that she honestly just wanted a shot of Taylor's legs because she said before the show that Taylor is going to be going home with more than a trophy. Maybe a man. Ooh. Taylor didn't appreciate that comment or that assumption. She did not laugh and proceeded to tell her that she would be going home with no men, just hanging out with her friends and then home to her cats. While the majority of the interview went well, the interviewers were reprimanded behind the scenes by Taylor herself. The news of Taylor's dislike for them made its way up to the top, where the ET executives decided to keep him off the red carpet from now on. Keep your creepy camera gestures to yourself, lady. Number 8, Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler's comments about the upcoming live-action Snow White remake could have a huge impact on ticket sales, according to brand experts. The 22-year-old actress has received plenty of backlash after she admitted that she hated the original 1937 movie and branded the storyline as weird, while referring to the Prince character as a straight-up stalker. The backlash occurred after several videos of Rachel speaking negatively about the original film in various interviews last year, year resurfacing online, where when she spoke about her version of the character, she said that she is not going to be saved by the prince and that she is not going to be dreaming about true love. As well as being labeled a fake feminist, some critics have accused Rachel of gaslighting, and one marketing consultant has warned that Disney will need to be very careful with how they have portrayed Snow White. Snow White has already been suffering from lots of backlash well before Rachel made her comments. Peter Dinklage spoke out about Disney not using true dwarf actors for the new film, instead opting to use heavy CGI on Hollywood elites. Rachel's role as Snow White is in the air as of filming this video, because thanks to her comments, the studio is rethinking the situation. While the film is set to release in March of next year, the writer's strike may be the exact moment that the studio needs to recast and rewrite its oldest character. Number 7. Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is known for his hilarious personality on and off screen, but he gave Kat Sadler from E! News and Daily Pop a very awkward interview on the red carpet at Harper Bazaar's party in 2017. The interaction started with Jim slowly circling Kat as she attempts to express her confusion and excitement. Jim Carrey was at a Fashion Week event. Was the man known for being an incredible artist, bringing his talent to the fashion world? No, he was just really mad about stuff. By 2017, Jim had made a name for himself as an oddly serious man who tended to venture into the realm of energies and universal concepts when getting into deep conversations. He started the conversation with, "This is meaningless." And then he continued to say that he wanted to find the most meaningless thing that he could attend that evening. The event was a celebration of icons and celebrities, according to Kat, to which Jim said he did not agree, as in he didn't agree with the concept of icons. He continued to give a small speech about not believing that people truly exist, and that we are all just a field of energy, and that peace lies beyond personality, man. The entire time this interview is taking place, Kat is visibly uncomfortable, just counting down to the moment that Jim says something funny or even remotely related to fashion. Instead, he just shares his thoughts, tells her that she has a nice fragrance, and walks away. While Jim's career had already started to slow down at that point, the clip became viral and studios were wondering if he was going to be a good fit for anything anymore. Many scripts with his name on them were rewritten or simply just kept to themselves, right up until 2020 when he made a small comeback in the surprisingly fun Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Number 6. Will Smith. That's right, Will Smith is on this list for hitting somebody, and it's not Chris Rock. Today we're talking about an incident on the red carpet that left one paparazzo with a massive red mark on his face and a fired sign stamped on his forehead. Will was walking the red carpet giving people interviews when a Ukrainian comedian named Vitaly Sejik approached him, a man who is unfortunately world famous for being an absolutely disgusting person towards celebrities. He pretended to be a reporter and began interviewing Will Smith. He suddenly pulled Will towards him and tried to kiss him on his cheeks and mouth. Well, Will obviously did not like that and shoved him back and gave him a little love tap. Just a little backhand to the face. A team of security following Mr. Smith picked this guy up and carried him away like a little toddler that he was. Who knew Will was practicing for his Oscar slaps all the way back then? Sejik was finally reprimanded for his actions, and he was actually made to pay a hefty fine for attempting to force himself on Will Smith. Needless to say, that guy works for himself now. Number 5. Hugh Grant. In 2013, the world was gifted with an awkward interview between model Ashley Graham and Dungeons & Dragons star Hugh Grant. Ashley was trying her best to give a good interview and asked Hugh the hard-hitting questions, like who was he wearing? Was he excited to be there? Did he hope anyone he knew won? You know, good old generic questions they tell you to ask on the first day of work. Hugh was not budging, to the point where she just kinda gave up and let him loose. One of her last questions to Hugh was regarding his cameo in the Netflix film Glass Onion, which he said was barely a full day on set. The incident sparked a ton of backlash, mainly aimed at Hugh for making Ashley's job more and more difficult. But then the narrative switched to, why wasn't she asking him better questions? ABC decided to give the hosting gig to somebody else for next year's Oscars, and it's looking like she won't be making any more interview appearances anytime soon. Number 4. Amy Schumer. In the mid-2010s, comedian Amy Schumer was named one of Time magazine's top 100 most influential people and was made to attend a red carpet event to celebrate with her fellow influencers, two of whom were Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. Now, while discussing the incident on the Graham Norton show, she revealed that there was a planned prank on Kim and Ye. Her goal was to get them to crack and smile and get some good fun pics for the event, but Kim and Kanye did not find this situation funny and continued continued to walk past her as she fell in front of them. Like she just followed forward trying to make a nice little thing out of it. While the moment was meant to create a fun scene, it instead made Amy look like she had a grudge towards Kim and Kanye. While not an interview, the incident on the red carpet did force Comedy Central to postpone a season of her show until things were sorted out with Kim. It turned out that not only did Kim not care, but she did end up finding the incident kind of funny in the end, with these two apparently now being close friends, and Amy even made a cameo on Kim's new reality series, The Kardashians. Number 3. Rashida Jones. The star of comedy giants like The Office and Parks and Rec is an expert at evading uncomfortable and just strange questions. During the Screen Actors Guild Awards in 2015, she was being interviewed by TNT's Danielle Dembski when the actress was told she was very tanned. Well, Rashida replied with a small pause and then told the reporter that she was ethnic, so, duh. Danielle burst into laughter before ignoring the dumb question and moving on, but TNT did not forget. Her producers made it very clear that she needed to do more research before making comments or asking questions to anyone on the carpet. According to TNT, she was let go after the meeting went south and Danielle didn't realize what she had done wrong. Gee, let me think. Number 2. Silka Sibin. While attending the Dutch premiere of his rom-com Music and the Lyrics, Hugh Grant, making another appearance, got the shock of a lifetime after a fan got a little bit too excited and took their admiration to a whole new level. Television journalist Silka Sibin approached Grant and he thought it was an interview, but then she handcuffed herself to him. For about 10 minutes, the patient but frustrated Grant was just waiting and watched as several onlookers started snapping pictures left and right. After the fire department finally released them, Sibin was taken by police. And while this may have seemed like your average Hollywood interaction, the news station that she worked for did not appreciate this gag and she was fired immediately. And at number 1, Ryan Seacrest. Ryan was the man with the mic for a very long time, hosting not only talk shows, but reality game shows as well. Eventually though, he found a nice comfy gig interviewing celebrities on and off the red carpet. In 2018, things changed drastically after allegations of misconduct were brought forward by a former female employee named Susie Hardy. Susie was his personal hairstylist and the job was perfect for a very long time. But according to her, Ryan became very aggressive on several occasions, claiming that the only reason she never said anything was fear that she may lose the financial stability that the job had provided for herself and her daughter. In 2013, the situation finally ended when she expressed her concerns to someone at Human Resources and her employment was terminated. Now, while this was happening, Ryan was still employed as a host and a presenter, so he took to the red carpet that year to interview celebrities and he was met with cold shoulders and sarcastic comments. After the red carpet event, the decision was made to put Ryan on hold for a while until the investigation into the allegations were complete. 3 months later, they concluded that there was insufficient evidence to prove the claims and Ryan got reinstated.
Starting off our list today at number 10, we have the ex-wife interview. Jada is known to invite just about everyone on her Red Table talk show. So it really shouldn't be a surprise when we found out that she invited Will Smith's ex-wife, Cherie. And during the interview, they would talk about a time that Jada actually thought it was okay to discipline Will's son, Trey. With both ladies describing their sides of the story, Jada would start things off by saying, "I can remember some times that I really crossed the line. There was one time Trey had a play date and he misbehaved and I was like, we gotta sit down, we gotta talk about this. Trey can't be behaving this way." And Cherie shared her version by adding, "I literally walked into the house, just dropped him off, and as I walked in, Jada was like, listen, we gotta talk about his behavior," and I was like, "Go get his daddy, please. Why are you talking about what happens at my house over here? This behavior was at my house, but you can't really discipline someone else's kids and think it's okay." Number 9, forced marriage interview. During an interview with People magazine, Jada would tell the media outlet that she never wanted to get married, and she ultimately only ended up getting married because her mother told her she had to get married. With Jada's mother being old and Will wanting a family, in the end Jada agreed to getting married as she was forced to believe that it was something she really should have done. Even though she admitted that she fell hard for Will when they first started dating in 1995, she would also admit that after she got pregnant with their son Jaden 2 years later, she wasn't necessarily down to have a traditional wedding. Later on in the interview, Jada would then say that the reason she was having so much doubt when it came to the idea to marriage, even though she adored Will, was because she never really seen a happy marriage and it made her not fond of the idea. And honestly, that's probably why why she ended up cheating on Will in the first place. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming at number 8, we have Willow's photo. When Jada sat down for an interview with high-end shopping site Net-a-Porter, she would have to come to her daughter's defense again after she was asked about the controversial photo of Willow being 13 years old laying in bed with a shirtless 20-year-old photographer. Jada would then go on to tell the interviewer, "Just don't pollute something that's not dirty. It's really tough. I feel like the connection to value of woman on a bigger scale has decreased tremendously." Even though you look and go, women have so many opportunities, and it's like, yeah, but at what cost? Are women valued for being women, or are they valued when they have more masculine qualities? She then went on to note that she just wants her kids to be happy and just wants them to be themselves, as her kids aren't her and she can't fix things that happen to her by projecting her thoughts onto her kids because it's a terrible trap, and that's why she stood by Willow's decision and made all of us cringe in the process. Number 7, Scientology. Okay, so we all know Jada's a little weird, and that's probably because over the last decade she's been trying to deny that she has any affiliation with the Church of Scientology. And then after she was exposed by an ex-Scientologist for not only being spotted at the Celebrity Center, but also for opening a school for the controversial religion for kids, Jada would then bring Lee on her Red Table Talk show, and she would clear the air by trying to settle their dispute back in 2018. And in the interview, it definitely had a lot of us raising our eyebrows because we just couldn't believe that Jada was lying through her teeth just to justify why she was going to the church in the first place. During the interview, Jada would say, "My grandmother was like, you're gonna learn all the religions, and then you gotta decide which one you want to practice. I always took the position that I'm here at the Scientology Center to learn what I want to learn, and I have no interest in being a Scientologist." And that statement would have been fine if it was the truth, but you can't open a Scientology school for kids and then say you have no intention of being a Scientologist when you're already affiliated with the religion. Number 6, parenting. With Jada and Will Smith being A-list celebrities at one point, it's no surprise that their children also grew up in the limelight. However, as any aspect of a celebrity, being a famous parent has sometimes led to increased scrutiny for Jada. Jada's and Will's parenting has often come under fire for years, which would then cause Jada to sit down with US Weekly to explain the Smiths are very open about a wide variety of subjects when she said, "I'm not a conventional parent," which I take a lot of pride in. And then in 2018, Jada would also admit that she and Will had different parenting approaches and often argued over the subjects, like their son Jaden Smith wearing a skirt. She would then take to her Red Table Talk show to embarrass her husband by saying he has his feelings on that for sure. I remember Will calling me and being like, "Have you talked about this with Jaden and him wearing a skirt?" And I said, "Yes, I have. He's pretty happy about it." But honestly, the fact that she's gotten her kids to even turn on their father during interviews just proves that she isn't exactly the role model parent everybody should be following. Number 5, open marriage. Jada and Will Smith have faced a lot of scrutiny over their marriage to the point they have become a laughingstock or a hero to other people who have a non-conventional approach when it comes to their love life. In 2013, Jada would sit down for an interview with HuffPost Live, and she would admit more fuel to the fire behind the rumors surrounding her open marriage, when she would insist that she and Will had no claim over each other's lives. She would then go on to say, "I've always told Will, you can do whatever you want as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror and be okay." She then insisted that she was here to be his partner, but at the end of the day, Will had to learn how to be his own man. After the interview started to go viral, it faced a lot of backlash, and Jada would head to her Facebook page to clear everything up by saying, "Will and I can do whatever we want because we trust each other to do so. This doesn't mean we have to be in an open relationship, this means we have grown. But if you aren't in an open relationship, how do you explain your affair with August Alsina? And how are you able to look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with the fact that you embarrass your husband every single day?" Number 4, interviewed herself. In the aftermath of the whole August Alsina interview, Jada Pinkett Smith would admit that there was some healing that needed to take place, and she would tweet that she would be interviewing herself as the next subject on her Red Table Talk episode, and Will Smith would be joining her. In the episode, we would see Will share his side of the story, and watching him find peace in the process while bringing up all of his core thoughts of pain was honestly just heartbreaking to see. Although Jada would confirm that she had an affair with August, she also went on to clarify that her and Will were temporarily separated when it it happened, and then she went on to deny August's allegations of Will giving the singer his blessings. With the interview being watched more than 30 million times, it quickly went viral, and Jada's repeated use of the word entanglement rather than affair became an online target for jokes, as did a picture that showed Will in tears. Number 3. Embarrassed Snoop Dogg. With Snoop Dogg being a good friend to Jada Pinkett Smith, I don't think any of us really believed that she could do something so cruel to embarrass her good friend during an interview on her Red Table Talk show. But she did. So we all saw Gayle King come for Kobe in 2020 after he passed away and claimed that the basketball legend was accused of making unwanted advancements towards an unnamed woman. Snoop, being clearly upset with the fact people were choosing to ruin Kobe's legacy in an attempt for fame, would then take to his Instagram to post a video where he would call Gayle out by insulting her appearance and telling her, "Back off, B, before we come get you." As a result of the outburst, Jada would then force the rapper to make an appearance on her Red Table Talk show so she could clear the air. But in the process, she showed no mercy and ended up embarrassing Snoop Dogg by saying, "When you first came out and said what you said, in regards to Gayle, my heart dropped. I felt like not only were you talking to Gayle, but you were also talking to me. I was like, oh no, Snoop has now taken his power flow away from me, away from Willow, away from my mother." Snoop Dogg then ended up feeling so ashamed that he even issued Gayle an apology. But honestly, even though he was in the wrong, there was no need to embarrass him in front of the whole world when this just could have been a private conversation between two old friends. Number 2. Racial bias. During a Red Table Talk interview, Jada would reveal what triggers her the most when it comes to white women, when she opened up about her relationship she has with white women and women of color. And then she revealed a surprising revelation of how she views women with blonde hair. When she went on to say, "I think what crushes me specifically in my relationship with white women, the thing that really breaks my heart, is that white women understand what it feels like to be oppressed." She then went on to admit her own racial biases when she said, "I have to admit, I'm guilty to that to a certain degree because I do have my biases, specifically to blonde women. Blonde hair on white women just triggers me. I've had to catch myself." Jada then went on to explain she harbors such hateful thoughts when it comes to white women with blonde hair because all throughout her childhood, all she can remember is being teased by them in regards to her hair, how she looked, and how they made her feel belittled. But I think we can all agree that she was just sneak dissing Margot Robbie. And probably me next, who knows. And coming at number 1 today, we have the dealer interview. When Jada appeared on Sway in the Morning back in 2017, she would reveal a lot of interesting things when it came to her and Tupac. In the interview, when Sway asked her to talk about their relationship, she would say, "One of the things that's very interesting that I've never really said before is that when I first met Pac, when we first met, I was a dealer." Jada then went on to explain that she wasn't going to jump into the full details of their relationship because she was going to write a book on it, but then she would explain that she had to leave that life behind and Pac behind because something really bad happened, so she had to leave, and as she was leaving, Pac was going into it, and there was a point in which she had to go her separate ways from Pac, and she went on to say, "And I just felt like, okay, God, one day you're going to do for Pac what you did for me, which is you saved me." It's clear that their relationship was complicated and we can't really grasp what she was trying to explain about their relationship, but it's clear that their relationship was based on survival more than it was romance.
At number 10, we have Tom Cruise's bizarre 2005 Today Show interview where Matt Lauer asked the actor about his Brooke Shields' use of antidepressants comment. Everyone's favorite Scientology poster boy completely flipped out by calling Matt glib and stating he didn't understand psychiatry as Tom does and only communicates it. Therefore, Matt shouldn't be speaking on things he doesn't understand. The Church of Scientology has been notoriously known to be opposed to psychiatry, by the way. However, Tom's press tour incident also came with Matt questioning if his KDPDA scene was a publicity stunt, and the damage to Tom's reputation from that point was enough to have him in a single movie per year, until he reemerged on the public's good side with his 2008 role in Tropic Thunder. At that point, he was no longer publicly speaking about Scientology though. Matt has since admitted to Howard Stern that a publicist of Tom's had rung him prior to a segment airing with attempts to remove that portion of the sit-down, and Cruise had also issued an apology to him. At number 9, we have the formerly popular band 5 Seconds of Summer, who managed to alienate both their fans and the general public from a single Rolling Stone interview. In a December 2015 published piece, Michael Clifford was hungover from the performance the night before the interview, where he dished that they were surrounded by a load of phony people. He also detailed how they partied with Justin Bieber despite remarks that the Canadian singer allegedly hated them. Their drummer Aston Irwin further pushed that their female-dominated fanbase had them needing to prove that they were a quote real band and not just doing it for the girls. However, frontman Luke Hemmings counteracted this claim by over-explaining that the four young men were constantly placed in situations on their tour bus where they were surrounded by a lot of girls. He also suggested that the possibilities were quote endless when they were asked if they sleep with multiple people at once on the same night. It's safe to say we all know why we haven't heard much of them since. At number 8, we have the 2008 R. Kelly interview that flew his career further off the rails amidst his allegations of inappropriately messing around with aged girls. Journalist Tor sat down with R. Kelly where he outrightly asked during part of the interview if Kelly favored teenage girls. In response, Kelly questioned how old Tor was referencing, and a visibly taken aback Tor doubled down with clarification of what he meant. Kelly had to be sure though, so he asked if Tor was talking about 19-year-olds specifically, to which Tor responded confirming that he meant that and younger. R. Kelly then went on a spiel about how he has friends who were underage or freshly new to adulthood, but that he's allegedly never done anything to nor with them, and that the journalist shouldn't listen to people on his team who he previously fired. Tor later took to a Daily Beast interview to speak on his R. Kelly media run-in, where he admitted that upon BET's airing, R. Kelly's team demanded it be wiped off the face of the internet, but it was seemingly too late to stop the downward spiral that was R. Kelly's career. At number 7, we have the awkwardest Tom Hiddleston interview to exist, following his February 2000 GC dish, where he discussed his then split from singer Taylor Swift. In regards to this, Tom complimented his and Taylor's relationship immensely, speaking about how they were lovely together and their relationship was indeed real. Tom was even asked about his infamous I Heart TS tank, where he explained it stemmed from a friendly game which later became a joke between their friend group at the time. Tom was apparently extremely earnest during this interview, which reportedly landed him at his interviewer's hotel room door at 6 a.m. to clarify the points he made about Taylor during the interview, detailing that he was quote crushed by the end of their relationship. Since Tom's roles did in fact dry up, aside from his Loki reprisals, his 2019 Skull Island role, and his occasional voiceover work. At number 6, we have Jim Carrey and his famous wallflower and overwhelmingly dark interview style. There isn't just one to chalk this up to, rather plenty, but the greatest example is most likely his New York Fashion Week interview from the Harper Bazaar's Icons party. The multiple questions on icons at the event caused Jim to calmly spiral, and the reactions of the interviewer were nothing short of amusing. The awkward event in question harbored viral-worthy comments to prompts, like Jim saying stuff like, "There's no meaning to any of this, so I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to, and here I am. This is just the absolute lowest aiming possibility that we could come up with. I don't believe in icons, I don't believe in personalities. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself, and I don't care." Much like other interviews in the past, such as Jim's Iowa University of Management 2014 meeting, he's made similar remarks which turned heads. Overall though, to the reporter's best effort, she could not save the interview from all the meme-worthy moments it soon took on. And despite his former success, we haven't really heard much of Jim nowadays, have we? At number 5, we have Jesse Eisenberg and his once socially awkward title being spun into that of a jerk in the wake of his Univision and Associated Press interviews. When he spoke with Associated Press, he detailed his Comic-Con experience to be difficult, even going so far as to label it as quote some kind of side. The highly insensitive remark obviously raised some horror, and when he attempted to clear his name, it fell on deaf ears. Moreover, his clarification came with the words, "I'm a normal person who has normal sensory experiences, so Comic-Con was very overwhelming for me." And let's just say people were not here for it. As for his Univision chit-chat, while promotions for Now You See Me were occurring, Jesse referred to the interviewer as the Carrot Top of interviewers, which many deemed as straight up rude. If you don't know, Carrot Top is a comedian who the interviewer labeled as quote horrible, so I'm sure you can see how that was insulting. Anyway, despite Jesse's need to prove his dislike for the process of interviews, he should probably rein in some points from his fellow industry buddy Kristen Stewart, who's expressed her own feelings of not enjoying public press appearances before finding her own path. At number 4, we have Paris Hilton's startling 2011 ABC interview, which showed proof of her still seemingly viewing herself as the top reality TV star worldwide, despite the media princess being overshadowed by her former assistant turned bestie Kim Kardashian. It's clear throughout the sit-down that Paris attempted to remain calm, but the grilling of the reporter, seemingly intent on discounting her worth, most likely set Paris off. When she was questioned on whether or not she believed her time as a reality star was donezo, Paris took that as her cue to exit stage left, leaving the set altogether. Some say she must not have been ready to accept what the world apparently already knows, that her chapter had officially reached its end long before her interview. Yikes. At number 3, we have the Australian newspaper interview with Denzel Washington, who seemed to make it apparent he didn't have extra time to deal with the press. His endless amount of sighs even caused him to go instantly viral. Reportedly, the interviewer flew miles and miles to do a press junket with Denzel, but at first it seemed he'd be a no-show. Thankfully, he did end up coming to the press junket, which is common in the industry to get quick dishes on celebrity to gain more buzz for them and the companies the interviewers are under. Understandably, this process is referred to as awkward and repetitive, and well, Denzel seemed to be no different. And while some actors are good sports, others like Julia Roberts and Tommy Lee Jones don't try nearly as hard. Apparently, Denzel joined this list shortly after. In the end, the interviewer's charm and persistence managed to get him engaged and somewhat more responsive than the daunting, cold exterior Denzel seemed to exude at first. Denzel even mentioned wanting to watch a suggested clip from the interviewer. But despite this, a year later, someone uploaded the interview to YouTube with the tagline of "arrogant rude interview" that's been watched millions of times. Unfortunately for Denzel, this just wasn't one of his best, but thankfully, the reporter still ended up having a great time overall. At number 2, we have Robert Pattinson's Twilight press frenzy, where it was obvious Robert was against any conversations regarding his then rumored relationship with his former co-star and ex-girlfriend Kristen Stewart. Naturally though, this became the burning red question in every media outlet, as everyone was clearly itching to ask Robert what their status was at the time. One of these people included Ryan Seacrest, who questioned him on his on-air show about what the ground of their relationship was. Robert was prompted to flee by his agent, and surprisingly, he did just that. In conclusion, Robert is no stranger to being around the center of awkward interviews, which clearly makes it harder for the general public to look at him in a more positive aspect. At number 1, we have the Kanye West comment that nearly ended this man's whole career, and that was his revealed thoughts on slavery. Warning, this may anger you. Anyway, Kanye served up quite the controversy and massive backlash in the media when he took to a TMZ live interview to make a statement that pissed off the whole world. The public outcry forced people to question his mental stability again, and the comment in question was that he genuinely believes slavery is a choice. His views on the oppressive system were ignited not even a week following his Make America Great Again stunt, where he professed his admiration for then US President Donald Trump. On the show, he outlined his decision behind wearing the infamous baseball cap, which had since become a trademark in Trump's MAGA political movement. The conversation took a left though when Kanye spoke on slavery, where he was accompanied by conservative commentator Candace Owens, who is outspoken in the details of the centuries-long African-American struggles of spending their lives shackled in servitude. His comment was of course met with stunned silence, which included the media outlet's founder Harvey. Kanye explained, quote, "You hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. You were there for 400 years and it was all of y'all? It's like we're meant to be in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. Prison is something that unites us as one race." One of the TMZ staff, Van, called West out to take responsibility for his words, where he ranted, "While you're living the life that you've earned by being a genius, the rest of us in society have to deal with these threats to our lives, with the marginalization that has come from the 400 years of slavery that you said for our people was a choice. Frankly, I'm disappointed, appalled, and unbelievably hurt by the fact that you have morphed into something that, to me, is not real." West issued an apology to Van before embracing him, and later wrote a statement on Twitter to further clarify his points. In it, the rapper detailed, "To make myself clear, of course I know that slaves did not get shackled and put on a boat by free will. My point is for us to have stayed in that position even though the numbers were on our side means that we were mentally enslaved. The reason why I brought up the 400 years point is because we can't be mentally imprisoned for another 400 years. We need free thought now, even if the statement was an example, just an idea."
Number 10, Tom Sandoval. Vanderpump Rules stars Tom Sandoval made headlines when accusations that he cheated on his longtime girlfriend Ariana Madix with their co-star Raquel Levy. Well, news of the Tom Tom restaurant co-owner's affair with Levy's broke on March 3rd. Sources told People that the affair had been going on for 6 months, leaving Madix blindsided and devastated by the revelation. In a clip from season 10's finale of Vanderpump Rules, Madix explained to friends Katie Maloney and Shani Shea how she found out about her boyfriend of 9 years, Sandoval, cheating on her with their co-star, while also revealing that the affair had been going on for several months rather than 6. Sandoval and Lee have respectively issued statements acknowledging the allegations within the week the cheating news broke. Both have opened up on the months-long affair and have apologized since. Number 9, Ariana Grande. The pop star is set to star in a film adaptation of the Broadway hit Wicked, following the story of the Wicked Witch before the events of The Wizard of Oz. Ariana Grande plays Glinda the Good, and Ethan Slater is Buck, the main love interest of the Wicked Witch. It's ironic that Ariana is the good witch though, as she appears to have stolen another woman's man. Ethan was married to a woman named Lily J since 2018, and they actually welcomed their first child in 2022. Apparently, Ariana and Ethan fell in love on set of Wicked and started dating behind the scenes. However, an on-set insider shared that information with Slater's wife, who was, furious. While the couple have agreed to raise their child as co-parents, Ethan officially filed for a divorce in July of this year and is still with Ariana so far as we know. Number 8, Natalie Portman. After 11 years of marriage, it was recently announced that Thor: Love and Thunder star Natalie Portman and her husband, Benjamin Millipede, will be separating following a very public and messy affair on Ben's part. Ben, who I assume is named after a kid's cartoon, was spotted with a 25-year-old climate activist. While Portman was mad, she initially tried to work things out with Ben in an attempt to save their marriage, but the affair put a massive strain on the relationship. The couple had met on the set of the 2009 drama Black Swan, with Ben acting as a scriptwriter for the project. While the affair has shaken their relationship, when asked about the issues by US Weekly, he said that he shares her pain and that he is still working on a new script for her. So they still work together professionally, but emotionally, they've checked out. Number 7, MGK. When the couple, who announced their engagement last January, sparked rumors of a split after 3 years together, Megan posted a series of pictures on Instagram with a pointed caption from Beyonce's Lemonade album, which, if you didn't know, is all about infidelity. On top of this, she deleted every trace of MGK from her Instagram page and unfollowed him. In fact, she raised eyebrows by unfollowing everyone except for Harry Styles, Timothée Chalamet, and notably MGK's long-standing nemesis, Eminem. It wasn't surprising that Megan's usual behavior prompted people to speculate that herself and MGK might have called it quits after he was found cheating. Megan topped off the weekend's events by proceeding to deactivate her entire Instagram account. By February 13th, a source informed people that the two had not called things off, but claimed that Megan had apparently gone as far as removing her engagement ring, which, FYI, is specifically designed to cause pain when she does that. Apparently the band has little spikes on it that jam into her finger if she pulls it off. That's fun. The final reports claimed that they had gotten into a spat, but that it got blown out of proportion. Megan publicly defended MGK's guitarist Sophie Lloyd online, who was the alleged mistress in the situation, but there seems to be no proof that anything ever took place, and the couple are currently working through their issues and things seem to have turned around for the better. Number 6, Steve Harvey. Steve was trending on Twitter for quite a while thanks to a couple of situations, one that actually happened and one that never happened. He seemingly fired his social media manager over a negative tweet regarding comedians and is now having to hear rumors about his wife Marjorie Bridges cheating on him. Harvey, who is 66, shared a video suggesting that he fired his social media manager after they posted a tweet urging followers to name a comedian that does not make them laugh. Steve posted a video explaining the situation and claimed that wasn't his style and it wasn't going to happen again. The morning following that post, rumors started circulating that his wife Marjorie is seeking a divorce. According to the internet, she was caught having an affair with the chief and bodyguard. But fun fact, that didn't happen, and the internet just really wanted Steve to have been cheated on for some reason when he is one of the best people on the planet who constantly shares his past with people to inspire and give hope. So, Steve, if you're somehow watching this, first of all, why? Second of all, you are a legend and 100% no cheating in your life. So, sorry if you hoped for more. Number 5, P. Diddy. The rap star Young Miami confirmed that she and Mr. Sean Combs P. Diddy are no longer together. The couple went public with their relationship in June of last year, but let everybody know that it wasn't exclusive. They said that at one point they were together every day of the week and basically lived together, letting the internet call it whatever they wanted. To double down on the claim, anytime that they've been asked if they're official, they must list the people they've been with outside of each other, like they're all alibis in a court case or something. This past year, the world was shocked when Sean welcomed his 7th child into the world with a woman named Dana Tran. While the pair had decided to keep things private, apparently this wasn't part of the deal. Miami has made it very clear that Sean is no longer a man in her life in any way, shape, or form. So, while Sean is stuck raising another baby and apparently dealing with some pretty harsh rumors right now, Miami will be sipping poolside surrounded by her lovers. I feel bad for whoever has to clean that pool. Number 4, Avril Lavigne. This year's shocking reports hit the internet claiming Avril Lavigne had called off her engagement to Mod's son. TMZ's insiders claim that things had been on and off for a while as the couple tried to mend their romance, but then when they got in touch with the Karma Singer's team, a rep declared that the last thing he heard was the couple had been engaged, and that was only 3 days prior, so anything else would be news to him. Avril had been spotted out and about with a man named Tyga, who she claims is just a friend, but the internet likes to gossip, so the headlines were Avril cheats on Mod's son. A week after his tour started and the news broke, he posted a series of photos on his Instagram making references to a broken heart and knowing there is a plan for everyone. He thanked his fans and then went dark. Since then, the two have been drenched in rumors, but the only thing that has been confirmed is they now reside in Splitsville. Number 3, Jesse Rutherford. When the news first broke of Billie Eilish and Jesse getting together, the internet drowned them in negative comments, calling to question why she was dating someone 10 years older than herself. To poke fun at this, the couple dressed as a baby and an elderly man on their first Halloween together, the type of thing that would become the norm in their lives. The couple were always spotted wearing matching clothes or outlandish outfits, even making their red carpet debut while wearing matching Gucci pajamas at the 11th annual LACMA Art and Film Gala. The couple were also known for their very public displays of affection. The PDA and inside jokes were the foundations of this relationship, and they seemed happy together until this past May, when the news broke the pair would be splitting up. Claiming it to be a mutual decision, it was later speculated that the split was due to Jesse getting busy behind Billie's back. Whether that spark just fizzled out or something darker has taken place, Jesse and Billie will be fine, and they'll find new people soon. So, look at that. Just look at these two side by side. They are goth king and queen. This man's eye tattoo is staring at me. Number 2, Lily Reinhart. Cole Sprouse and Lily met on the set of Riverdale in 2016 while filming the pilot episode for the series that finally ended after being the most confusing series of all time. I had to stop after season 3 because everyone started playing D&D and Stranger Things came out, so there you go. Anyway, they fell in love playing Jughead and Betty, having a relationship that lasted like 7 years, but in 2020, started to go downhill. They were plagued by cheating rumors, things had apparently become heavy behind the scenes according to Cole. Towards the end of that year, they confirmed the split online. However, this year, Cole spoke out about the breakup while having a cancer stick in the middle of an interview, claiming that he didn't want to get too deep into the topic, but that it was a mutual decision. Lily began receiving violent and threatening messages following the interview as well as the end of the show. The past few weeks, rumors have been arising once more, and fans are becoming online detectives again to uncover the truth. And at number 1, Sebastian Leggett. This year, Becky G hit the 2023 iHeartRadio Awards red carpet without her engagement ring on. She attended the ceremony, at which she took home the award for Best Latin Pop Song of the Year for her and Karol G's collaboration Mammy. On Tuesday, March 27th, the same day her fiancé, Sebastian Leggett, seemingly confessed that he cheated on his girlfriend of 6 years on Instagram. He posted that over the previous few weeks, during a moment he deeply regretted, a 10-minute lap in judgment resulted in an extortion plot. The 30-year-old soccer player shared the information on his Instagram after a fan claimed to have proof that he was unfaithful to Becky G. The fan was claiming that Seb had a tryst with a woman while out at a club in Madrid last year. They allegedly had receipts of the affair, including videos, audio, text, and so much more. The relationship seems to have crumbled, with the latest being Becky is single and Sebastian is trying to figure out incognito mode on his phone. Number 10, Hugh Grant. In 2023, the world was gifted with an awkward interview between model Ashley Graham and Dungeons & Dragons star Hugh Grant. Ashley was trying her best to give a good interview and ask Hugh the hard-hitting questions. Like, who was he wearing? Was he excited to be there? Did he hope anyone won? You know, the generic questions they tell you to ask on day 1. Hugh was not budging, to the point where she just kinda gave up and let him loose. One of her last questions to Hugh was regarding his cameo in the Netflix film Glass Onion, which he says was barely a full day on set. The incident sparked a ton of backlash, mainly aimed at Hugh for making Ashley's job more and more difficult because he wasn't even responding to that first round of questioning. But then the narrative switched to, why wasn't she asking him better questions? ABC decided that the hosting gig was going to go to somebody else next year, and it's looking like she won't be making any more interview appearances anytime soon. Number 9, Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler's comments about the upcoming live-action Snow White movie could have a huge impact on ticket sales, according to branding experts. The 22-year-old actress has received plenty of backlash after she admitted that she hated the original 1937 movie and branded the storyline as weird, while referring to the Prince character as a stalker. Not wrong. The backlash occurred after several videos of Rachel speaking negatively about the original film in various interviews last year that resurfaced online, where she talked about her version of this character, saying that she's not going to be saved by a prince and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. While Disney may just be trying to modernize the classic, these comments were causing her to be labeled as a fake feminist. Some critics accused Rachel of gaslighting, and one marketing consultant has warned that Disney will need to be careful with how they've portrayed Snow White. Snow White has already been suffering from backlash well before Rachel made her comments. Peter Dinklage spoke out about Disney not using true dwarf actors for the new film and instead opting to use heavy CGI on Hollywood elites. Rachel's role as Snow White is in the air as of filming, because while this film is set to release in March, the writers and actors strike set production back, so who knows, maybe they recasted her in the background while we weren't paying attention. Number 8. Adam Driver. Adam Driver is an incredible actor, and I personally got to see him perform for the first time in a little rom-com alongside Daniel Radcliffe called The F Word. If you ever seen that, check it out, it's a great movie. And then I saw Star Wars. Okay, don't worry, I know that he's Kylo Ren. This year, Adam had the chance to play one of the creator of one of the fastest and most recognizable car brands in the entire world, Enzo Ferrari of Ferrari cars. The film has been receiving some pretty solid reviews, following in the shadows of films like Ford v Ferrari from a couple of years back. It seems like we might get a cinematic universe of stories behind popular car brands. There's a DeLorean movie, there's this movie, they should just make a movie about Subarus next. My parents love Subarus, they're great cars. While doing press for the film, Adam was involved in a Q&A that resulted in one of the best Adam Driver clips to ever exist. A man in the audience asks Adam how he feels about stunt racing scenes, as they are pretty intense, harsh, and honestly, in their opinion, cheesy. Cheesy? Adam doesn't like that word. He sips his water, and with very little hesitation, he says, "I don't know, F you. Next question." The clip became viral very fast, and people are actually praising Adam for his response. People at these events are given a rare chance to speak with actors, directors, and everything in between, so when someone takes that precious time just to tell you how they feel about something and to see if you agree, it's just a waste of time. Number 7. Pedro Pascal. Pedro is another treasure in this world. Not only has his energy and genuine personality been showcased in his TV and film roles, but he's become one of the most recognizable faces in meme culture. He's also been involved in projects from every genre: comedy, action, horror, and now live-action video game adaptations thanks to the Last of Us series. Earlier this year, he was attending the premiere of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, and an interviewer stopped him on the red carpet and asked if he might like to read some thirst tweets to the camera. This was unprompted and never confirmed to be okay with Pedro beforehand, before he was put on camera. Pedro took the piece of paper that he was handed. It contained the tweets. He giggled, took a moment to read it over, and with a big smile on his face just gave them a sincere no, and then called the comments too dirty to read. But being the man that he is, he told them that they were doing a great job and that those were some thirsty tweets. He was not insulted by this interaction at all, and if anything, it's just another clip that showcases how much of a gem this man really is. Number 6. Dax Shepard. In September of this year, an individual named Jonathan Van Ness, or JVN, made an appearance on Dax's podcast, Armchair Experts. JVN rose to fame after appearing on the series Queer Eye and has continued to work in several sections of the beauty and fashion industry for years. While speaking with Dax, known best as a comedic actor for movies like Employee of the Month and Idiocracy, he actually ended up bringing JVN to tears thanks to his comments towards the concept of transitioning and gender-affirming care. During the conversation, Dax wished to debate both sides, to which JVN responded with several well-researched points. Dax's views have always been questioned, as they seem to be based in misinformation and are actually anti-trans in general. Towards the end of the conversation, and after JVN basically had to defend their beliefs over and over again, Dax apologized and acknowledged that he should not have put JVN in that position. Jay expresses their exhaustion of having to justify these comments and fight for the rights of younger people who are transitioning. JVN is just very passionate about youths, especially being accepted and involved in as many activities and interests as possible in their lives. Dax has been called out for his comments when the entire point of the podcast was to discuss JVN's own podcast, so you might say he went a little off topic. Number 5. Tony Danza. Modern audiences may not know much about Tony Danza, but if you're a fan of the 80s and 90s, this man will have come across your screen once or twice. Starring in shows like Taxi and Who's the Boss, Tony dominated the sitcom scene for a solid portion of his career. Earlier this year, at the Broadway premiere of New York, an interviewer named Rye Myers asked Tony a question about New York that left Danza branded as one of the rudest celebrities in the world. He was simply asking Tony what his favorite NYC staple food was: pizza, pizza, hot dogs, what makes Tony tick? Instead of answering the rather simple question and just moving on, he took a moment to pause and tell Rye that he should get better questions, and even told him to relax. The clip went viral and people quickly began supporting Myers. Even the great Michael Bublé chimed in to let him know that he loved him and was ready to share a pizza with him at any time if Tony wasn't invited. Tony actually reached out later on and apologized for his response, deciding that he ultimately wanted to squash the beef. Things were patched up, but that is still an extremely rude and awkward moment. Number 4. Doja Cat. The Met Gala always seems to bring in some truly memorable moments. Whether it's an outlandish outfit or an interview where they just meow the entire time, it's a weird place to be. Yes, Doja Cat went to the Met Gala in 2023 dressed as a cat. She literally had prosthetic nose on her face and prosthetics on her eyebrows, all the while wearing a sparkly silver dress with little sparkly ears on top. Emma Chamberlain decided that Doja was the woman that she needed to interview. No one else. Doja Cat was the one, which ended up being a very bad decision. Bad for her, great for us. Doja responded to every single question that this woman asked with a resounding meow. At one point, she actually attempts to tell a story and meows a few times with different tones, like meow, meow, meow. The entire time, the guy who is standing with her is just kind of like, yeah, that's Doja Cat. She's been doing this for a month now. The moment was honestly more entertaining than rude, but I'm not sure if this was planned beforehand or not. If it was, great meme, good job. If it's not, this is horrible, and Doja, you need to chill. Number 3, Liam Neeson. Liam may be known for his serious roles and for being, one of the worst parents in cinematic history, but this year he was known as an uncomfortable man thanks to his appearance on the show The View. Appearing to discuss his career and potential projects coming down the line, the conversation shifted after one of the hosts, Anna Navarro, jabbed Joy Behar about her crush on Liam Neeson, saying that there was at least one woman on this panel that would love to be taken by Liam. Ew. The show then played a supercut of all the times that Joy has spoken about Liam, including a time when she said that she would want to have her ashes sprinkled over him, and another bit where she admitted to getting a little aroused when she saw him on screen. Liam joked at first, asking Joy if she received the checks, insinuating that she gets paid every time she talks about him. Following the interview, Liam felt the whole thing to be a little bit of a waste of time. The segment about the crush was long and is a crush that materialized like 15 years ago. Eventually, he had a normal conversation, but overall it was just a little uncomfortable. Number 2, Chloe Fineman. For anyone who does not know Chloe Fineman, I'm sorry. She is currently working as a cast member on Saturday Night Live, and she's genuinely doing a great job and is hilarious. Fortunately, earlier this year, she was involved in a red carpet interview that proved how little she actually knew about some of the celebrities involved with the event she was at. Fineman hosted the Vogue live stream of the 2023 Met Gala alongside Derek Blasberg. The pair were eventually joined by Aubrey Plaza, Madeline Klein, the designer of many dresses from the evening, and Stella McCartney. As the interview began, Fineman attempts to introduce the women that she's interviewing, but fumbles all of their names, one of them on purpose. Instead of calling them by their first names, she refers to Madeline and Stella as McCartney and Klein. She then calls Aubrey Plaza Audrey, and Plaza improvised her own last name, Slutburn, which may have to be bleeped out, but I really hope it's not. Chloe and Aubrey actually know each other very well and have worked together in a few times. Chloe and Aubrey actually know each other really well, and they've worked together a few times in the past, so this was clearly just an inside joke. McCartney was having none of these shenanigans though. Chloe instinctively laughed when someone makes a joke, so when the women kept responding to the questions, "What are you wearing?" with each other's last names, she had to giggle. McCartney asked her if she was taking this seriously, and the tension dissipated only when she asked McCartney about taking over for Karl Lagerfeld, the designer that the night had been themed after. Yeah, I don't know how to say his last name, please don't comment about it. The moment was tense, and we're sure Chloe was happy to get back to world of sketch comedy as soon as possible. And at number 1, Jada Pinkett Smith. Every single interview that this woman has ever done has had some kind of shade or hidden meaning behind it, whether it's trying to patch things up with someone on her own little Facebook talk show that hurt her, or just telling the world every single dirty detail about Will Smith that she knows. This woman is a menace who makes for uncomfortable interviews and moments every time she is on screen. This year alone, she outed her marriage as a sham, claimed Tupac Shakur was in love with her, and wrote a book about everything in between. Don't buy it. Number 10. Russell Brand. Even before the controversy surrounding Russell Brand came up this year, this dude was unwelcome at royal events, award shows, birthday parties, anything and everything public. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm sorry to be the one to inform you, Russell Brand is secretly a terrible person. The man known best as a comedian, a bringer of joy, has secretly been manipulative, aggressive, and at times violent with his ex-partners. Following the news that a documentary about his life and career was set to release on BBC Channel 4, several complaints were filed by exes alleging that Russell had mistreated them during their time together. The allegations were actually reinforced by Russell's ex-fiancée, Katy Perry. They dated for over a year and a half, and in that time, she came to learn that Russell was short-tempered, opinionated, and stubborn, qualities that make a man a terrible person. Russell's career was canceled, and he's currently awaiting a trial. Number 9. The Oprah Maui Scandal. Oprah has been claiming to be many things since the Maui backlash has begun. A good boss, a charitable woman, and an advocate for the island of Maui. By starting this fund and donating her spare millions, she's made her mark in the public as a woman who cares so much. So much that she's asking you to give her your money as well. Isn't that nice? Well, not really. The money that she donated turned out to be taxed, so she didn't actually donate anything, and of course, the main issue that people have with Oprah is that she's a billionaire asking average everyday people for money. As I've mentioned in previous videos, Oprah would not care about Maui or its people if she didn't have a vested stake on the island. Oprah has had property in Maui for quite some time, being almost a second home to her. When the fires started raging, she started fundraising. Think about all of the things that have happened in the past few years. We all forgot about Australia being on fire in 2020. Western Canada was on fire earlier this year. Some parts of Florida have been underwater and are still right now. Yet, Oprah has decided to dedicate her time and money to helping out the area where she has a vacation home. Number 8. Colleen Ballinger. Former YouTuber Colleen was accused by several of her young fans as being a creepy creepo who wanted to be their friend. Colleen is best known for her character Miranda Sings on YouTube, who became so popular that she received her own Netflix series. If you want to watch it, I'm sure you will need a VPN or something. It's probably banned in every country. She was basically messaging her fans to deliver so-called advice when she was really trying to just manipulate them into being her little minions. And not the little yellow guys with the glasses, that'd be different. There was a massive amount of proof in the pudding. Fans had screenshots of conversations, with one fan claiming that she actually sent him lingerie as a joke. Oh man, lace underwear, hilarious. Following instant backlash from the world, Colleen decided to post an apology online, which she did, while playing a ukulele. This woman is shown to be weird to everyone, and she thought it was appropriate to go online and sing about it. In response to the cringiest apology of all time, her fans resurfaced a video that really should have gotten her canceled when it first came out. A few years ago, she decided that it would be an awesome idea during one of her live shows to sing and dance to Beyonce's Single Ladies, while in blackface. Yeah, it is the roughest clip of Colleen. She's just barefoot on stage, wildly flailing and waving her arms, and nobody at that show is like, that's weird. Yeah, the world's great. Number 7, Jada Pinkett Smith. Cheating rumors and dating scandals have followed Jada and Will Smith throughout their entire relationship. Since day one, people have been convinced that they're in an open relationship or they were cheating on each other on and off. Well, it turns out that some of those rumors were actually true. Ahead of the release of her new book, Worthy, Jada sat down with People magazine to share some inside information. The most revealing was that herself and Will Smith have actually been separated for like 7 years. Now, of course, that's not all. Jada's actually slowly ruining this man's life and mental health. When Jada revealed the truth about her separation from Will, she claimed that by the time they reached 2016, they had become exhausted with trying to make things work. The news of their separation was like a mild shock at best, because Super Sleuth fans claim to have proof Will and Jada have been separated forever, and the proof is in the interviews. The first clip to be submitted as evidence was Will and Jada's Red Table Talk interaction, where she admitted to the entanglement with August Alsina, simultaneously admitting to a brief separation. In the conversation, she literally says that herself and Will had basically broken up, but instead of just telling us right then and there, she decided to hold on to that information for a better time. A lot of Jada fans have commented on the resurfaced clips saying that Will looks drained, like he's clearly dealing with a ton mentally speaking. Now, I could go on and on about how terrible Jada is, but I've done lots of videos about that in the past, so go and check those out. Number 6, Justin Timberlake. One of the most discussed sections of The Woman in Me, a memoir by Britney Spears, is of course the revelation of what really happened while Britney and her Mickey Mouse Club co-star Justin Timberlake were together. After meeting JT in the clubhouse, the two sparked a romantic connection. Their connection was strong, but unfortunately Britney had to make a difficult decision in the year 2000, after she found out she was pregnant. At first, Britney was actually pretty excited about the whole thing. In her book she revealed that she had planned on starting a family with Justin at some point, just that this was going to be a little bit earlier than she expected. Well, turns out Justin was not so excited and told her that they were both too young to be starting a family, continuing to remind her that their careers would also need to be put on pause. The revelation may be part of the reason that Justin has reportedly been so nervous leading up to the book's release, and might be why he's turned his Instagram comments off. Britney revealed that if the decision had solely been left to her, that she would have gone through with the pregnancy, but she decided to go the opposite route instead. She claims to have only done it because Justin so clearly didn't want to be the dad. In the book, she said that looking back, it is one of the most agonizing things she has ever experienced in her life. Number 5, Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors is currently the man behind the purple cape of Kang the Conqueror in the MCU. Kang has been written as a very important figure in Marvel. In Ant-Man Quantumania, he was the main antagonist, only he was just acting as a variant of the real antagonist, which was an army of Kangs from across the multiverse. I know, I'm gonna get geeky for a second. Including He Who Remains, a Kang variant from Loki, who once again acted as a major part of the Loki series. Unfortunately for Majors, an ex has come forward and alleged that Jonathan was physically violent towards her while they were together. Since March of this year, Majors and his team have been adamant that the situation's blown out of proportions and that there's nothing to be upset about. In fact, in June, Majors filed his own cross-complaint accusing the accuser. Prosecutors refuted these claims and told him that they had no plans to prosecute Grace Jabari, the woman who accused him. Majors has been dropped from his agency, and so far his role on TV and film is up in the air. Spoiler alert for Loki Season 2. The series ended with Kang not really being He Who Remains anymore, and it's unclear of what's gonna actually happen. Now, there have been rumors that his role in the MCU as the big bad will be replaced by Doctor Doom, so we'll see. Sorry if you don't like nerdy stuff, that's just my little tangent. Number 4, Lizzo. Lizzo may have been a public advocate for body positivity, but as part of a lawsuit being brought against her, it seems like all the positivity might have just been an act that she was putting on to make herself more universally loved. Now, I am not a small man. In fact, I have what many people consider to be a dad bod, and hey, I'm cool with that, so I'm not dismissing the notion that we should love and respect ourselves, but she made it a massive part of her personality on camera, and when it sounds like the only body she actually cared about was her own. According to her dancers, Lizzo regularly shamed her team and made them feel like they were too large or gaining weight, with several dancers confirming these claims. One of the dancers, Crystal Davies, who is part of the lawsuit, was actually fired for secretly recording a meeting between herself and Lizzo. The meeting was about the dancer's performance on stage recently, and Lizzo apparently disliking the weight that she had been gaining, claiming that Crystal just wasn't committing to her role. She was also bringing her dancers to strange places and making them do things against their will. Lizzo was at a club in Amsterdam's red light district when she coerced, aka forced, one of her dancers to touch a woman's bare chest, not something that she wanted to do. She also made them eat bananas from some no-no zones that, again, not their idea of fun. Currently, it's still up in the air as to what the outcome will be in this trial, and so far Lizzo is maintaining that she has done nothing wrong and will prove her innocence any day. Number 3, Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner. Joe and Sophie got together back in 2016 after they had been set up by mutual friends, something that they had apparently been trying to do for quite some time. They got together and instantly fell in love, getting married just over a year after getting together. Sophie admitted to Rolling Stones in 2019 that she was hesitant at first because Joe was a big musician, she was a big TV and film star, meaning that most of the time they would be on opposite ends of the world. Eventually, she warmed up and got together with Joe officially. The split came out of nowhere. For the most part, their relationship has seemed to be stable on the outside. They were never a part of cheating scandals, which is surprising considering Joe's lack of discretion. There were never any strange rumors, photos, they were just like a happy couple. As of September 1st, Joe Jonas filed for a divorce from Sophie, with the only current information being that Joe has claimed the relationship is irretrievably broken. Something pretty serious must have gone down in a very short amount of time, because only hours before this announcement, Joe posted a photo of himself on Instagram with his ring on full display. Now, despite the minimal amount of tea spilt so far, we are in for one super messy and public divorce. Things have settled down a bit in the past few weeks, but Sophie was actually just spotted getting cozy with another dude very recently, so you can imagine who's taking things harder at this point. Number 2, Danny Matheson. That 70s show was a popular sitcom that helped launch several careers, including Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. Danny was of course also on that show, but it turns out the allegations that date back to 2004 surrounding Danny were reported in 2004. Danny was still on the show when an investigation took place. 4 women reported that he had mistreated them physically, prompting local law enforcement to halt production and bring Danny in for questioning. The investigation brought little to no actual evidence to the table, so Danny was let go and the entire thing was forgotten about. But that means that Ashton and Mila literally watched this man go in for questioning and still called him a role model in their character witness letters. It makes no sense. Their jobs were literally stopped while this man was under investigation, and when the charges came up again 15 years later, they were still on his side. Thankfully, in 2023, it's a lot easier to confirm allegations of this nature, and he was recently sentenced to 3 years in prison. So, justice served. Number 1, Jonah Hill. Jonah was once the funniest man in town, shifting his efforts to the world of drama and creating a really nice career where he could just do anything he wanted, really. Unfortunately for fans of Jonah Hill, some information came out earlier this year that called his character into question. Reminder, this isn't my opinion, these are things that just happen in the world and are public knowledge, okay? An ex-girlfriend of Jonah's posted screenshots from past conversations, and the conversations ranged from Jonah just asking her to tone down the photo she was posting, to asking her not to do her job. For those of you who don't know, his ex Sarah works as a surfing instructor, and Jonah was asking her to not surf with men while working, and that she wear more than a bikini while she did so. When Sarah released these screenshots, she underlined them, calling Jonah a narcissistic misogynist, but also said she didn't really want anything bad to happen to him, so Since the messages have been released, there has been a massive online debate as to where Jonah stands in the eyes of the public. Some people feel that canceling him entirely is just a bit too much, and compared to some of the other scandals in Hollywood, especially that I just covered, Jonah Hill is relatively chill. Others want his name wiped from the face of the planet and never to be heard from again, so I don't know, give and take.
At number 10, Russell Brand. This man has been slowly exposing himself to the public over the years as his chaotic energy has just gotten worse and worse. Brand has previously gone down in history as being the worst host of the Video Music Awards ever, but now he's going down in history for being an absolutely terrible human being. 4 women have come forward alleging that Brand mistreated them verbally and physically between the years of 2006 and 2014, arguably the height of his career. He strongly denies the allegations, and in a video that he posted himself, the actor claimed that while he was promiscuous, all relationships were consensual. One woman claimed that Russell had started a relationship with her in 2006 while she was still in high school and he was 30. Apparently, they met when Brand bumped into her at the mall. According to the woman, the relationship was meant to be anonymous, with Russell asking her to straight up lie to her parents. He even wrote her a script to keep things smooth. Another woman alleged similar behavior in 2007, but added that he had a massive temper, becoming physical with her a few times. Several more women have spoken about their situations with Brand, all of which were eerily similar and showed that he is a pattern of mistreatment. At number 9, Jonah Hill. Unfortunately, it would appear that the once funny man turned Oscar nominee is really a jerk. Recently, a news article broke of his ex-girlfriend, Sarah Bradley, revealing evidence that Hill was emotionally damaging towards her during their relationship. The couple first got together in 2021, meeting on the beach as she was a surf instructor. According to a series of texts between Sarah and Jonah, it's obvious that he is manipulative. He told Sarah to remove any photos of her in a bathing suit, which was a lot of them due to her being a surf instructor.
instructor. When she did that, he told her it was a good start, but she didn't seem to get his point. He then told her, "It's not my place to teach you. I've made my boundaries clear. You refuse to let go of some of them, and you've made that clear, and I hope it makes you happy." People felt that his boundaries were closer to ridiculous demands, and in another screenshot, Hill explained his conditions for maintaining their relationship, including stating that he didn't want Sarah surfing with men, aka her job. He wrote a massive list of boundaries and rules that were just clearly him trying to control everything Sarah did. At number 8, Oprah Winfrey. Who would have guessed that the woman once famous for handing out cars on her talk show is being canceled by the world? Why? Well, Oprah made a career-ending mistake when herself and Dwayne Johnson broke the one rule of being a billionaire: don't ask poor people for money. Last week, Winfrey and The Rock announced that they would be starting a relief fund for the victims of Maui wildfires. The People's Fund of Maui was given a solid $10 million to get off the ground, $10 million donated by Winfrey and Johnson combined. So why is it just Oprah getting so much hate online? Well, it's because she has a net worth of roughly $2.8 billion, billion with a B. The internet is collectively furious at Oprah for having the audacity to ask working class citizens for charity when most people can barely afford to put food on their table. The Rock and Oprah donated $5 million each to give the fund a head start, except $5 million to Oprah is like $500 to us. Oprah ended up addressing all the hate online, telling the Daily Mail that she was disappointed in the reaction from the world rather than focus on the good things and the people of Maui. The world was mad that she asked them to give a nickel. Oprah has yet to confirm if she will be donating any more to the fund, but so far it's not looking very promising. At number 7, Drew Barrymore. The actress and now talk show host made headlines last week when she announced when her very popular show, The Drew Barrymore Show, would return to air despite there being a massive writer's strike in Hollywood at the moment that a majority of celebs have shown their support towards. The Charlie's Angels star claimed that the move was not intended to make light of the current situation, but rather as a way to create a safe environment to discuss the difficult topics. She posted a video to Instagram apologizing for all the pain the decision had clearly caused people. The writers who worked on her show before the strike were literally standing outside of CBS studios with picket signs. The internet called her a number of different insults and asked that she be fired from the show altogether. Well, apparently Drew heard everyone's cries and decided to keep the show off air for now. While she made the right move in the end, it may be too little too late. At number 6, Danny Masterson. The actor, best known for his role on the sitcom That 70s Show, has been convicted on serious charges of misconduct. 3 women came forward detailing a time when Masterson aggressively took advantage of them. 3 separate incidents took place between 2001 and 2003, but a verdict was not reached until just this year. The first round of investigations actually took place while he was still on That 70s Show, but at the time there wasn't enough physical evidence to take things very far. In 2017, the investigation was reopened, and it was reported that he once again being investigated. The women spoke about Masterson's misdeeds, and they were eventually able to scrape together enough evidence for a conviction. Another woman came forward in 2017, rounding it up to 4 accusers. It was revealed throughout the proceedings that Netflix had actually tried to dispute the claims of these women as a way to maintain their working relationship with Masterson. Eventually, he was fired from the ranch, and, well, everything with his name attached to it. The actor defended himself tooth and nail right up until the final verdict. In the last year, former co-stars like Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis wrote character statements supporting Danny and literally claiming that he was a role model. At number 5, Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada was well known for a long time, mostly as Will Smith's wife, but also for her occasional acting roles. These days, she's known as a disgruntled talk show host. For a few years, Pinkett Smith hosted a talk show online called Red Table Talk, where she would invite guests to come on so they could discuss various topics, from upcoming projects to the man she was dating while her and Will were on not so good terms. The show was known for getting a little too deep into Jada's personal life, often making the viewers and her guests very uncomfortable, revealing details that nobody asked for. The company she worked for eventually decided to shut down their streaming, and her show would suffer. The show may have also been canceled due in part to her husband smacking Chris Rock in the face. At number 4, Colleen Ballinger. Former YouTuber and current demon, Colleen Ballinger has recently been outed as having inappropriate relationships with her young fans. Luckily, nothing went as far as becoming physical, but her involvement in various group chats with fans half her age was extremely inappropriate. Ballinger is best known for her character Miranda Sings, who became so popular on YouTube that she received her own Netflix series. If you haven't seen that, too late, it's been removed now. She was basically messaging her fans to deliver so-called advice when she was really just trying to manipulate them into being her unpaid employees and sending them to bat for her during any kind of drama. Following the backlash, Colleen decided to post an apology online. The only thing was, she did it while playing a ukulele. In response to the cringiest apology of all time, her former fans decided to cancel her for good by reminding the world of a number of inappropriate bits, sketches, and jokes she probably shouldn't have done and certainly should not have been available to children to watch. At number 3, Katy Perry. Recently, Katy Perry took to social media to announce that she wants to quit being a judge on American Idol after 6 years over a fear that she's being made to look like a bad guy by the producers. For those who don't know, Perry had an interesting reaction to a contestant revealing she was a mother of 3 and being much older than she looked. In response, Perry stood up out of her chair and almost laid on the judge's table. The contestant, Sarah Beth, then sarcastically said that if Katy laid on the table, she would die, and Katy responded with, "Honey, you've been laying on the table too much," in reference to her having multiple kids at a young age. At first, everyone laughed and this all seemed in good fun, but following her audition, Sarah announced she would be going back to California to be with her family, claiming she just wasn't cut out for show business. She later took to TikTok to call Perry out for the joke, which was shaming her in a number of different ways. Katy has been defending herself since the video, claiming it was not meant to be harmful, but she's made similar comments and jokes to many contestants over the years. At number 2, Justin Roiland. The creator of the adult cartoon comedy series Rick and Morty was on a hot streak at the start of 2023. Rick and Morty had been just renewed for another season. His first-person adventure comedy High on Life was becoming one of the most played games across the country, and oh, then he got arrested for being a jerk. Turns out that this man who made the world laugh was also a man who made women cry. It was revealed that he would be facing 2 separate criminal charges in Orange County, stemming from a domestic incident that took place in 2020 with the woman he was dating at the time. While he denied the allegations at first, several other women came forward to share their stories of mistreatment from Justin, who had apparently been sending them horrific DMs online that varied from pretty tame to the creepiest stuff you've ever heard. Roiland was stripped of his contract with Disney and Hulu, who'd been distributing his series on its streaming services and were funding his most recent projects. Roiland was also replaced on both Solar Opposites and Rick and Morty, with the current news being Dan Stevens is taking his place. And at number 1, Donald Trump. In 2006, Donald Trump was known as a wealthy real estate mogul with a hit reality series called The Apprentice. He was recently married to Melania with a 4-month-old baby. However, reports leaked that Trump was actually in the midst of an affair with adult film star Stormy Daniels after she filed a civil suit claiming the contract he made her sign to keep quiet was invalid. Daniels claimed that herself and Trump shared an intimate relationship for roughly a year during his marriage to Melania. These aren't the first allegations of an affair, as Trump has been back and forth in the media since the 70s, being accused by 26 women of mistreatment or misconduct. While these rumors have never held any merit at first, the truth was finally set free. After being the most chaotic president in recent history, it was announced in March that Trump was arrested on 34 separate violations of a New York law against falsifying business documents to conceal another crime. Over the years, he was essentially taking company money and using it to pay off anyone who may have been a threat to him, both personally and politically.
Number 10, Jeremy Allen White and Addison Timlin. Jeremy made a big move in the acting world after his FX comedy series The Bear premiered on Disney Plus this past year, but he's actually been making people laugh, cry, and scream since starring as Lip Gallagher in the hit TV series Shameless, a show that I definitely haven't watched 10 times start to finish back to back. Definitely wouldn't do that. No sir. He met his future wife Addison on set of a film called After School in 2008. They were close friends for almost 12 years before becoming an official item in 2019. The relationship has mainly taken place behind the scenes apart from a few Instagram posts, but Jeremy's love for his wife has been well known since his acceptance speech at the 2023 Golden Globes, where he won the award for the best actor in a musical or comedy TV series. Unfortunately, roughly 2 months ago, Addison filed for a divorce from Jeremy with little to no explanation so far. 3 days following the divorce announcement, she posted a picture of herself with her daughter on Instagram and captioned it "Single Mom," which was apparently news to Jeremy, who was under the impression that they would be co-parenting. While their relationship may have ended in a mess, there might be a new one on the horizon, as Jeremy was spotted with Wizards of Waverly Place star Selena Gomez. Hey, Lip Gallagher and Alex Russo would be so cute together. Number 9. Natalie Portman. After 11 years of marriage, it was recently announced that Thor Love and Thunder star Natalie Portman and her husband, Benjamin Millipede, will be separating following a very public and messy affair on Ben's part. Ben, who I assume is named after a kid's cartoon, was spotted with a 25-year-old climate activist. While Portman was mad, she initially did try to work things out with Ben in an attempt to save their marriage, but the affair put a massive strain on their relationship. The couple had met on set of the 2009 drama Black Swan, with Ben acting as a scriptwriter for the project. While the affair had shaken up their relationship, when asked about the issues by Us Weekly, he said that he shared her pain and that he was sending her a new script. I don't know, while they may still be working together professionally, emotionally speaking, they have definitely checked out. Number 8. Drake Bell and Janet von Schmeling. Drake was a small screen sweetheart in the early 2000s, starring in several Nickelodeon shows and movies like Drake and Josh, The Amanda Bynes Show, and of course the live-action Fairly Odd Parents. He was on track to be a megastar in the world of Hollywood, but unfortunately is one of the many Nickelodeon stars who took a turn for the worse. He starred in a number of low-budget flicks over the years, but his status as a celebrity was gone at that point. The nail was finally driven into the coffin in 2021 when Drake was sentenced to 2 years of probation and 200 hours of community service after it was revealed that he had been grooming a younger fan for years. So if you see him in an orange jumpsuit cleaning graffiti off of a wall, you might know why. Recently, it was announced that his wife Janet had filed for divorce from Drake following that situation and another one where he was missing for 5 days on a bender doing God knows what with the strange women and friends that she had never met. On the actual paperwork, Vaughn has cited irreconcilable differences and has requested legal and physical custody of their younglings. In April of this year, Drake was reported missing only to turn up completely unharmed 5 days later, and according to Janet, Drake's mental health had slowly been declining in the last few years. His toxicity towards his partners is nothing new, as his ex Melissa Lingefelt accused him of being verbally manipulative and physically violent. Between his rocky history and declining mental health, we're happy to see that Janet got out of there before anything too crazy took place. Who knows how bad of a dad this guy could actually be. I mean, we all know he can't build a treehouse. Number 7. Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner. Joe and Sophie got together back in 2016 after they had been set up by mutual friends, something that they had been trying to do for quite some time. They got together and instantly fell in love, getting married just over a year after getting together. Sophie admitted to Rolling Stones in 2019 that she was hesitant at first. Joe was this big musician and she was a big TV and film star, meaning that most of the time they would be on opposite ends of the world. Eventually she warmed up and got together with Joe officially, but the split came out of nowhere. For the most part, their relationship has seemed to be stable on the outside. They were never a part of a cheating scandal, which is surprising considering Joe's lack of discretion in the past. There were never any strange rumors or photos, they were just this happy couple. But as of September 1st, Joe Jonas has filed for a divorce from Sophie, with the only current information being that Joe has claimed the relationship to be irretrievably broken. Something pretty serious must have gone on in a very short amount of time. Only hours before the announcement, Joe posted a photo of himself to Instagram with his ring on full display. Despite the minimal amount of tea spilt so far, we are in for a very messy divorce. Number 6. Britney Spears and Sam Asghari. Britney and Sam's marriage is in shambles. The couple that got together back in 2016 seemed to be great on the outside. As Britney was getting better overall, her relationship with Sam became more and more serious. Sam was right there by her side through thick and thin. Eventually they tied the knot in 2022, which is why it was so devastating for her fans to learn that the couple had called it quits just a little over a month ago. The words used on the actual divorce paperwork say irreconcilable differences, which for Hollywood people just tends to mean nothing good. Sam was the one to officially file for the divorce, demanding that Britney pay spousal support and attorney fees. Since this news is so recent, there is no current update on how the couple are doing or how deep into the process they are. Britney once again made headlines in the media, something that she hadn't really done since the early 2010s. Her divorce was covered constantly and the internet has been weighing in their decisions ever since. Number 5. Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater. So bear with me here for a moment because Ariana is actually the cause of this divorce, so strap in. The pop star and Broadway giant are set to star in a film adaptation of the Broadway Broadway hit Wicked, following the story of the Wicked Witch before the events of The Wizard of Oz. Ariana plays Glinda the Good, and Slater is Bach, the main love interest of the Wicked Witch. It's ironic that Ariana is the good witch though, as she appears to have stolen another woman's man. Ethan was married to a woman named Lily J since 2018, and the pair even welcomed their first child into the world in 2022. Apparently, Ariana and Ethan fell in love on set and started dating behind the scenes. However, on-set insiders shared the information to Slater's wife, who was furious, and while the couple have agreed to raise their child as co-parents, Ethan officially filed for a divorce in July of this year. Number 4. Billy Porter and Adam Smith. Billy and Adam have been together for 6 years before recently announcing their amicable divorce. The American Horror Story star and his husband Adam met after being introduced by a mutual friend in 2009. They briefly dated but ultimately split before getting back together in 2015 and tying the knot a year later. Over the past few years, they have been one of Hollywood's favorite couples, regularly being spotted at award ceremonies and fancy events, just happily holding each other. It's so cute, it makes me want to vomit. Unfortunately, their relationship seems to have slowly fizzled out as they announced they would be filing for a divorce. The decision came from a conversation that they had and a decision that they made mutually, claiming they will remain friends for the rest of their lives. However, the online rumors and backlash suggest that something a little bit darker has taken place behind the scenes. They've asked everyone to give them some privacy, so why don't we skip some bad jokes and not get into the rumors and just move on to the next entry. Number 3. Shanine Doherty and Kurt Israenko. This past April, the alumni of Charmed filed for a divorce from her husband Kurt after 11 years of marriage. She was photographed in March without her wedding ring on display, causing many to assume that the divorce had been something planned for quite some time. As with most celebrities who file for divorce, the couple cited irreconcilable differences. Shanine claimed that the divorce was the last thing she wanted. Unfortunately, her hubby left her no options. While there was no real confirmation on what was happening behind the scenes, according to Shanine herself, Kurt's agent was intimately involved with their divorce. Neither Kurt nor his agent has spoken out about the rumors, probably because they're too busy getting down. Ooh. Number 2. Noel Gallagher and Sarah McDonald. The former Oasis frontman, now in his mid-50s, revealed that himself and his wife Sarah would be filing for a divorce after 12 years of marriage. According to Noel, the couple simply got bored with each other, something not uncommon for people in their 50s. Speaking with Ireland's Hot Press magazine, Sarah told the outlet that the split was because she was sick and tired of Noel's partying habits. Even at the age of 55, this guy is acting like he's 20 years old, coming home late and reeking of no-no juice. Noel denied the claims and said that it was because of 2020 and being stuck with her for months on end. Noel claimed that while he hated his time in isolation, it was a very revealing time in his life. He was able to work on songs that were unfinished, as well as create some new ones. Much like a ton of couples at that time, they were realizing that they just weren't good at sharing a space. Before, they were able to go out and about and be alone, but for a solid 6 months, it was just them in a house every single day. So we get it. Number 1. Reese Witherspoon and Jim Toth. Over the years, Reese made quite the name for herself, starring in films like Legally Blonde, Walk the Line, and Hot Pursuit. She was well known for being a comedic actor able to tap into her serious side when the time came for it. Along for the ride right up until 2023 was Jim Toth. Jim has starred in a handful of projects, but mainly acts as a producer, creating sitcoms like According to Jim. The couple first got together in 2011 and quickly tied the knot. Over the last 12 years, there was never a sign that this couple was headed for disaster, but that may be due in part to them not getting out much. Reese has continued to act fairly steadily over the years, but for some reason, she has been appearing less and less in the public. Perhaps there was something going on behind the scenes, as the announcement came only 2 days before they were supposed to celebrate their 12-year anniversary. According to a statement released by both of them, the decision was a mutual one, saying that they enjoyed their time with each other, but things just don't work out sometimes. Number 10. Chris Pratt. Chris may have been spending the past few years guarding the galaxy from cosmic threats in the MCU, but his reputation as a person has been anything but heroic. According to several of his co-stars and former lovers, Chris has a massive ego that tends to get him in rough situations. A few years ago, he made a comment claiming that the average blue-collar American was not necessarily represented in Hollywood anymore, which, no, they do. They just tend to be the secondary characters now because white dudes from Minnesota have had their time. And to top it off, let's talk about the Hillsong Church. Now, I respect everyone's right to their own beliefs and places of worship. However, the Hillsong Church is famously anti-LGBTQ+, and is known to be a frequent spot for Hollywood A-listers like Justin Bieber and Kourtney Kardashian. He has continued to attend this church to this day, begging many to question if this third Guardians movie might be his last. Number 9. Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen is another Marvel man on this list, portraying the villain Kai Silius in 2017's Doctor Strange. This man has portrayed many characters over the years in everything from Harry Potter to Hannibal. This man is a force to be reckoned with, and apparently that applies to his on-set persona as well as on screen. You see, he has admitted in interviews over the years that he can be a bit intense to work with, and by intense, I mean demanding. According to himself, when he's really passionate about a project, he will ask a million questions and he's not gonna stop until he gets answers. He went on to say that some directors he has worked with tend to be in their own heads on set, and he has to like shake them free from time to time. He's literally called people in the middle of the night because there's something on his mind involving the next shoot day and he just can't wait to get it out. At least this is one of those Disney actors who knows that he can be a pain and a little bit invasive. Like, I'm not sure how I would feel if Mads Mikkelsen called me in the middle of the night. I might have a heart attack, actually. That sounds terrifying. Number 8. Jonathan Majors. Jonathan's acting career skyrocketed after the success of his HBO series Lovecraft Country, but he's been popping up in movies left and right since the mid-2010s. In 2021, it was revealed that Majors would be portraying the character Kang the Conqueror in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a character who is essentially the next big bad of the franchise. His first time playing the character in the show Loki was very well received, and fans were excited to see what he was going to bring to the table in the third installment of the Ant-Man franchise, Quantumania. Unfortunately, about 3 months before that movie came out, which is just bad in general, Majors made headlines after he was accused of mistreating several of his ex-girlfriends and was ultimately arrested. His PR team maintained that he was innocent and were surely going to find the evidence that proved the women were making everything up. Yeah, following the arrest and that statement, he was dropped by his talent management company, and eventually his PR team had to cave and let him loose as well. Majors had already finished filming his scenes for Ant-Man, so the movie was released as scheduled, but whether it was the negative press surrounding the movie or just everybody drinking goo the whole time, that movie bombed at the box office, meaning that his last role may be in a trashy trash bag movie. Number 7. Jared Leto. Jared just cemented himself in the world of Disney, starring as the main antagonist of the new Haunted Mansion film, playing a character known as Hatbox Ghost. The movie not only has poor reviews so far, but Jared's character himself is just not scary. He looks like a cartoon caricature of something that's supposed to be scary. Unfortunately for everyone on set, Jared likes to get method when he's filming, no matter how small the role. So his time on set as a ghost was not that fun. In fact, most of the main ensemble cast have boasted about how fun the project was working together, but Jared was actually kept separate from the main actors and filmed his scenes on a separate soundstage. Jared has a long history with people of being terrible on set, to his co-stars from the Suicide Squad to the Haunted Mansion. He has just been an absolute menace towards everybody, leaving them animal parts, ignoring them, or just straight up snapping at people because they dare speak to him outside of his character. He may be a new addition to Disney's list of usable actors, but he's probably gonna find himself on Disney's blacklist very soon. Number 6. Vin Diesel. In case you were unaware, the Fast and Furious star has been lending his voice to the lovable tree monster Groot from Disney's Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. This year, the third installment was released, and Vin was actually given something other than "I am Groot" to say. Family! No, that's not what it was, but it would have been a nice troll from Disney. Vin may be loved in his franchise, but sometimes on set and in real life, he can be a bit of a pain in the bum. Not only is he a cheater and a reportedly difficult man to work with on set, but he's also known to have meetings and shoot times literally moved to accommodate his party lifestyle. When he's on set, he's been known to criticize cast and crew. In fact, his Fast and Furious co-star Charlize Theron went on record and said that she absolutely hated working with Vin Diesel. He wasn't friendly or even polite to her at any point, and he would even boss her around on set. Thankfully for Disney, all they have to do with him now is open a sound booth and toss him in. But he's a Disney actor and he's on our meanie list. Number 5. Bill Murray. Bill Murray had a pretty stellar career up until the past year. The man behind some incredible movies like Caddyshack and Ghostbusters has secretly been a menace to women on set several times throughout his career. In February of this year, Bill returned to the world of Disney when he starred as Krylar in the third installment of the Ant-Man and the Wasp franchise, which is looking like it might be his final film role ever thanks to the revelation of his misconduct over the years. Now, several female crew members have called out Bill's behavior over the past few years, with one woman claiming that he paid her $100,000 as a settlement because the woman was claiming that he had straddled her on set of his most recent film, Being Mortal, which was supposed to be comedian Aziz Ansari's directorial debut, but thanks to Murray being a a jerk, the entire thing has been put on pause and is probably going to be either reshot or shelved entirely. Number 4. Brie Larson. Brie was announced as the newest member of the Marvel Universe in 2019, starring in the film Captain Marvel as the titular superhero. At first, people were pretty excited to see what Marvel would do with the property. Captain Marvel is one of the original cosmic heroes in the comic book canon. I know I'm a nerd, leave me alone! However, when the movie was actually released, fans were upset with Brie's performance. According to them, she was stale and seemed bored from start to finish. When asked about the online hate at D23 in 2022, Brie said that she's not sure if she would continue to play the character beyond her upcoming Captain Marvel sequel, The Marvels. She's aware of all the hate surrounding her character and defends that role by telling people that's how she was told to play the role. But also, it's Brie Larson. She's always been stiff, but that's part of why it's funny. Go watch Scott Pilgrim, you ninnies! Overall, she doesn't sound as terrible as some of the other entries on this list, but the way she's responded to people in interviews in the past few years has unfortunately pegged her as a Miss Marvel meanie. Number 3. Miley Cyrus. So, fun fact, Miley Cyrus actually did do some voiceover work in the latest entry of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise as a floating robot head named Mainframe, marking a small return to the world of Disney, which is why we can talk about her on this list. Miley was once Disney's go-to girl. Hannah Montana was a massive success, and she was set to have a long, fruitful career in the music industry. Unfortunately, her attitude behind the scenes landed her in a weird in-between space where she was mean to her fellow Disney peeps, but she was being herself and people didn't want to be like, hey, stop being comfortable in your own skin, you jerk. She had created a whole new image and a whole new dance move that I still can't do. Unfortunately, for a brief period, all that popularity went to her head, and according to several of her friends and family, she was a nightmare to say the least. While she may have grown tamer over the years, we will never forget how hard she licked that sledgehammer. I can taste it just talking about it. Number 2. Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato is a former Disney star who suffered from a pretty rough upbringing, with both her parents being either intoxicated or just straight up gone her entire life. That seems to have had a part to play in the way that Demi goes about her everyday life. Unfortunately, several fans and fellow artists have called Demi out for being such a pain in the butt over the years. At one point, she started an on-again, off-again feud with pop singer Taylor Swift and fellow Disney star Selena Gomez. In 2016, Taylor donated $250,000 to pop singer Kesha to aid in her legal battles against a mega hit producer named Dr. Luke. So, because Taylor is wealthy and is able to help her fellow artists, Demi decided to call her out and reminded her that she didn't have that kind of cash to just give people, which makes me think that she gave Kesha like $20 and is just jealous that Taylor gave her more. She's also threw some shade at Nicki Minaj for simply existing on the same red carpet as her a few years ago. The two had been glaring at each other all night, and Demi is not one to shy away from her opinions on the industry and claimed that Minaj was being fake and plastic towards her. She wanted nothing to do with that kind of attitude. Basically, she got mad at Nicki Minaj for posting a photo and didn't tag her in it. So hey, if you get mad at someone when you see a post that you're in and they don't, tag you and you're mad at them, go get some help. You might need a therapist. Just maybe. Number 1. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay is another former Disney star who recently made a return to the acting world thanks to a little Christmas movie released on Netflix. She got her big break when she was casted to play 2 roles in the classic movie The Parent Trap, where she played twin sisters Hallie and Annie, who randomly meet at a summer camp and discover their parents split them up when they were babies following a divorce. They hatch a plot to get mom and dad back together, and it's delightful. Her career only seemed to be rising from there, starring in several cult classics like Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis or Mean Girls as the main character Katie. Unfortunately, her career took a step in the wrong direction when she was arrested in 2007 for driving under the influence of a controlled substance, for which she only served 84 minutes in jail. Yep, minutes. Until 2022, her career was at an abrupt standstill, but she not only seems to be better mentally speaking, but is under contract with the streaming giant Netflix to release a few more rom-com flicks over the next couple of years, so maybe her and Adam Sandler can make a Netflix multiverse. I'm kinda into that idea. That sounds kinda fun. Number 10. Noah Schnapp. Noah Schnapp first filled our hearts with anxiety when he was snatched away into the Upside Down in the Netflix series Stranger Things. If you've been following the show, you may have noticed that during the most recent season, Noah's character Will seemed to be harboring some romantic feelings towards his friend Mike Wheeler, played by Finn Wolfhard. It turns out not only was his character confirmed to be a member of the community, but Noah himself confirmed via TikTok that he was also sprouting the flag of pride, joking that he was a bit more similar to his character than initially thought. The world welcomed Noah with open arms, and it would appear that in his excitement he may have shared some information that was not his to share. Recently, Noah posted a now deleted TikTok of a screenshot from a conversation with rapper Doja. She was inquiring with Mr. Schnapp on the relationship status of his Stranger Things co-star Joseph Quinn, aka Eddie Munson. Doja asked Noah to ask Joseph to hit her up. He apologized for posting the convo, and he understands that it wasn't the smartest move, but he's finally accepted who he is, so I think we can cut him some slack on this one. Number 9, Lil Nas X. While the famous rapper has been out as gay for a few years now, in January he expressed his wish to identify as bi. He asked his fans via Twitter if they'd be mad if he was a little bi. And of course they weren't. Love is love, my friend. Nas is famous for his music, but he's also a little stinker online, and he loves to troll people whenever the opportunity arises. Target created a line of LGBT pride wear that did not sit well with Nas. He bashed the company, calling the move creepy and an attempt to capitalize on naive parents during a month of celebration. Target quickly removed the clothes from their shelves, and apparently everything else, cause like, hey, where is everything? Following his announcement on Twitter, he joked with his fans saying that this would be the last time he'd be coming out, he promises. Nas is an openly gay musician and public advocate for gay rights, so the idea of him shifting his interest to including ladies, we say go get him, Tiger! Number 8. Diplo. Diplo is an American DJ, rapper, and apparently he's an overall terrible human being. He may have garnered a pretty solid fan base thanks to his music collabs with artists like Sia and Major Lazer, but earlier this year it was discovered that he may have done some pretty terrible things to an ex of his, to the point where the Los Angeles Police Department may have to begin a legal trial later this summer. In March, during an interview on Emily Ratajkowski's podcast High Low, Diplo opened up about his orientation completely unprompted. He claimed that he had been with quite a few fellow fellas here and there, and while he doesn't consider himself gay, he isn't not gay. Okay man, just pick a lane. You'll be good. We promise. While everyone deserves to have their orientation respected by any and all, we can all agree that if Diplo fully joins the community, he'll be forced to live in that weird old house that nobody goes to on Halloween. Number 7. Bella Ramsey. Bella quickly rose to fame after starring in HBO's much-loved and critically acclaimed live-action adaptation of the Last of Us video game series. In January, they opened up in an interview with the New York Times discussing how their gender has always been very fluid. In the interview, Bella said that someone would call them her or she, and they wouldn't really think about it. But they knew that if someone called them he or him, that was a little bit exciting. Bella now opts for the non-binary option on forums whenever they have the opportunity, because hey, at the end of the day, Bella's just a person. We wish Bella all the luck in the world in their future life endeavors, and wish them a happy Pride Month. Number 6. Alison Brie. The beloved actress and former Community star casually and publicly came out as bi in February while filming a video for BuzzFeed with hubby Dave Franco. During the segment, they were reading thirst tweets about themselves when Franco began to read one particularly spicy comment from a woman that said, "Listen, I'm bi for a reason, and that reason is strictly to be used in a triple no pants dance with Alison Brie and Dave Franco." Alison's face turned bright red, but she reacted in a wonderfully wholesome way by high-fiving her husband and shouting, "That's also why I'm bi!" Many fans then began asking on Twitter if this was just an offhanded comment or if it was a true shedding of the closet. Alison later confirmed that she was in fact a member of the LGBTQ+ community during an interview for her upcoming role in the film Somebody I Used to Know. She claims she never felt the need to come out per se, as it's not really a public matter, but it's also nothing that she's ashamed of or trying to hide. So there you go world, Annie Edison reporting for duty. Number 5. Richard Armitage. You may recognize Richard from his role on the popular Netflix series Obsession, but eagle-eyed Hobbit fans will recognize him as the king under the mountain, Thorin Oakenshield. During an April interview with Radio Times, the 51-year-old Netflix star publicly opened up about his orientation and the fact that he has a male partner, though he says he's been out of the closet for his friends and family since the age of 19. He plays the lead character in Obsession, William Farrow, which is a steamy thriller filled with gratuitous full-frontal birthday suit shots. Armitage opened up about having to get his partner to give him permission and to help him get prepared for the role, giving him the okay when it came to some of the raunchier moments. He told the interviewer that they reassured each other everything was going to be fine and they were going to be very well taken care of by fellow cast and crew. With the success of the show and the news of his joining of the Community, it seems like Richards is in for quite the year. Number 4, Jeff Molina. Jeff Molina is a UFC flyweight division fighter, and unfortunately he came out this year, but it was not his choice. An intimate video of Molina and another gentleman leaked online. Jeff was forced to respond to the video on social media, saying, "Well, this duckin' sucks. Yep, I'm bi. Not the way I wanted to do this, but the chance to do it when I was ready was taken away from me." He tried to keep his dating life private over the years, especially when it comes to social media. According to Jeff, he's dated girls his entire life, but he had always been suppressing feelings throughout high school, college, and during his time in the UFC. Despite the manner in which it was done, we're really happy to see that he's taken the situation in stride, and despite the macho energy surrounding the sport, Jeff's fellow UFC fighters have actually taken to Twitter to express their support for their brother in the octagon. Number 3, Monique. The Oscar-winning actress and stand-up comic seemingly came out during her April Netflix special, My Name is Monique, after telling her story about her queer uncle Tina and the dynamics with her family, especially her conservative, church-going grandmother. Monique opened up about her journey with orientation in the comedy special. For years she said she buried her desires by ignoring them and laying with men. Monique decided not to come out to her grandmother, but she did come out to her father and recalled the story. She said, "Daddy, I want to be with another woman physically." And he looked at her so beautifully and so patient and so loving, and he said, "Me too. Take a note, parents, that is what support sounds like." We're happy to see so many people like Monique feeling more and more comfortable speaking publicly about their orientation and sharing their stories to inspire others in similar situations. Number 2, Young Miami. The City Girls rapper confirmed she is a bi baby, and her ongoing flirtationship with fellow MC Megan Thee Stallion was legit. During an episode of Jason Lee's Revolt, a radio talk show / podcast discussing news related to hip-hop and black culture, Young was playing a game of Smash or Pass with Lee, and Megan's name was brought up. She said, "Smash, all day and tomorrow." She then went on to describe in detail the things that she would let Megan do to her. It was quite the interview. Lee asked Miami if she had in fact ever been with a woman, to which she replied, "Physically, I've been with a woman before. I love it." While Miami has been officially dating rapper P. Diddy since early last year, she's never sounded nearly as excited about him like she is with Megan, so sorry P. Number 1, Alex Lincoln. The British actor, who is probably best known for playing Jamie Tate in the series Emmerdale Farm and Mark Newton from In From the Side, in January of this year, the young thespian opened up on social media about his orientation. In a post to Instagram, Lincoln celebrated his long list nomination for Breakthrough Performance at the 2022 British Independent Awards for his appearance on In From the Side. In the comment section, people praised the actor, but did ask the question, was it real or were the actors just posing as gay? Well, Lincoln himself responded to the comments saying, "Thanks so much, I really appreciate it," and "No, I'm not straight." Heart emoji. Previously in interviews, Lincoln had stated that roughly 70% of the cast were members of the community. Due to the ongoing concern surrounding straight actors taking up LGBTQ+ parts, the statement of not only his involvement in the community, but his fellow cast members as well, was embraced by fans and critics alike.